How you keeping with the
I'm
little bit of
gonna
a smile? Huh?
You're
Cry.
stressed.
Are you gonna sell the one on Wall?
See, cry.
I'm not gonna share a driver with an Airbnb, it's gonna be great.
Thank you.
Great.
And there's another illegal Airbnb apparently working out of Rick Albert's old house.
Oh, really? Well, yes, there is.
Really?
At least mine crosses, my driveway is actually legal.
Yeah,
But we-
nice. There is though, Chuck. So the police were called out last week where they're shooting an air gun in their backyard. It was like a Thursday, a Friday night, yeah. So I don't know what happened. I didn't follow through.
Hey, I'd like to welcome everybody to the August 10th, 2026 work session for the City of Idaho's Friends. And we got 5 things on the agenda. And I would like to welcome Sam Light is going to be up first. And he's going to be talking about some CIRSA training. And Sam and I have known each other for quite a while, and I'm very, very pleased with his training. I've been through this a couple of times myself, and it's always a really good refresher, even if you have been through it. And Sam, with that, I'll turn it over to you.
All right, thank you, Mayor. Thank you for those kind words. I appreciate that. And thank you, council and staff, for having me out. Good to see you all. So as mentioned, I'm Sam Light, and I'm the Executive Director and General Counsel for CIRSA, which you all know is an acronym, right, for a very long phrase, the Colorado Intergovernmental Risk Sharing Agency, which is why we call it CIRSA, right? So we're the insurer for the city for workers' compensation, right, for employee injuries, as well as your property and casualty coverage, right? So one of the things we do.
You also, are you do the police department as well?
Well, we insure the police department, we do, yeah. On the property and casualty side, our bread and butter work is we get your coverages in place and we provide the coverage for everything from your municipal buildings to your municipal vehicles. On the property side and on the liability side, we provide defense coverage and indemnification coverage, whether it's liability for covered claims for everything from the routine slip and fall. Maybe somebody slips outside City Hall and thinks the sidewalk is too icy and then it's your fault. We defend those kind of claims, everything up to the more complicated and esoteric type claims like employment practices liability, law enforcement liability, involving your police department and other things. So just a little bit more about CIRSA, because I think it serves as background for my presentation, is we are not a commercial insurance company. We're a public entity self-insurance pool. And we're formed under Colorado law ourselves. Our only members and our owners and our only book of business is insuring Colorado cities and towns. So we insure about 90% of the cities and towns in the state of Colorado. And our organization, our board of directors is city managers and risk managers from around the state of Colorado. So the reason I mention that is because we think it puts us close to our members in terms of, understanding your coverage needs, helps us build longstanding relationships with our members. To give you an example of that, thank you for your longstanding membership in CIRSA. You've been with our workers' compensation program since 1989 and our property and casualty program since 1986. That's almost as long as CIRSA's been around. So thank you for that. So unlike a commercial insurance company where you may only have resources from them and deal with them only when you have a claim, we view it as very important, and our board of directors provides a lot of resources to provide risk management resources for our members, for you to use as much as little as you like, and we provide risk management resources at all levels of the organization. Because in a certain way, right, the best claim is a claim that didn't happen, right? So our board's committed significant resources to that, and we do trainings and provide risk management resources for everybody from public works to police to elected and appointed officials. And I do the elected and appointed official training. So this is an opportunity for us at the governing body level, right, to kind of exercise that muscle a little bit around best practices at the governing body level to help you manage risk as a governing body, right? Because you kind of agree with this notion that sometimes it's possible, right, that elected or appointed officials can either individually or collectively do something or not do something that might create a little bit of a pickle, right, from a risk standpoint. So that's what we train on in this conversation. So you can learn. I brought handouts with me. I'll mention them all briefly as I go through the material. The first one is CIRSA at a glance. gives you more of an explanation of who we are and what we do. But we truly believe, and we think we share this with our members, that good risk management, good risk culture is at all levels of the organization, right? It starts with the governing body level as well. Like, part of your point of attachments to risk management is providing the resources and empowering the organization around a good risk management culture and having it yourself, right? So we're going to talk about what that means. I want to make our time as useful as I can. So if you have questions, feel free to ask as I go through the material. The slides are a resource. I think they're in the packet, and I got a couple other resources. So quickly in the time we have, I'm going to talk a little bit about risk management individually and collectively for elected officials. We'll talk a little bit about the role of being a public official. We'll talk about organizational structure and liability. We'll talk about ethics and personal conduct quickly, and then there's a little bit, it's a separate training that we do, but we're going to talk about quasi-judicial decision-making as well. Let's go to the next slide. My one disclaimer is, though I am an attorney, obviously this is not an attorney-client discussion, right? I think you got the Murray Dahl firm in your corner, right? Great firm, right? Feel free to ask me any question, but if my radar is telling me that's the live burning question of the day, sometimes people ask me, hey, Sam, I got a question. What if another member of the town board does this? And everyone's eyes open wide. All right, that sounds like a legal question for the city or town attorney, right? Let's talk about, let's go to the next slide. I understand we've got some newer members on the council as well. Congratulations, who's new as of last election or recent appointments?
Since January.
All right, congratulations. And then our length of tenure for other folks, couple of years?
6 years.
6 years? Yourself?
16?
16?
I don't know what I'm going on.
This is kind of the refresher then, right? This is just
Yeah.
a time, set aside a little time to kind of rethink, re-up ourselves on some commitments. But do you agree with this notion that as an elected official, you're no longer a citizen, right? You're now a public official, and I'm here to tell you from a certain perspective, including a risk management perspective, that can be perceived as a 24/7 job. No matter what we think of it, fair or unfair, right? Your citizens will always perceive you to be an elected official. And it's true in any setting. Right? You may be out over here downtown on a weekend with your friends and family for some family event, thinking it's your own time, and somebody comes up, oh, there's one of the council members. I'm going to go talk to them about city business. Was the hat ever off? Right? No, no. So whatever we think about, I think it asks of us, right, that we remember that it is a 24/7 job from that perspective, and we're called upon, particularly at the elected official level, to be great ambassadors and representatives of the organization. In a legal sense, you're fiduciary, right? That's that legal phrase, and the quote on the next slide, up at the bottom of that slide, is right out of the state code of ethics, but it reminds us, right, that it's a fiduciary relationship we have to the corporate entity of the city, right, and to the public trust, right? That fiduciary obligation is the obligation of the interest of the organization that we serve as a fiduciary, the city as a corporate entity, and the public interest, to put that above all other interests. Let's go to the next slide, right?
Sometimes that,
Can be tough.
yes, because they don't always go hand in hand.
Yeah, yeah. And legislative issues, right? In particular, you got to bump up against these situations. You ever have this, Mayor? Sometimes the room's a little bit packed and emotions are running high, and you got to make a tough decision. Okay? Yeah. So on quasi judicial matters, like you had a couple weeks ago, right? That's its own box where you got specific criteria you have to apply. But on legislating in particular or administrative decisions, I think broadly stated, the fiduciary concept asks us to think about, well, we're going to make a policy decision. Part of my role is to understand what is in the best interest of the city as a city, right? And maybe that's a good guidepost in that legislative activity, right? That ain't going to be easy, as you suggest. Sometimes, during public comment, the first person that stands up is going to say, Mayor and council, you got to do this. You got to do it tonight. And the next person stands up and says, no, don't do that. Do exactly the opposite, right? So as a collective group of fiduciaries, one of the risk management tools we would suggest to you is to, in that moment, remember your prerogative to take the time you need and get the information that you need that'll help you make good defensible decisions, right? It's not a lot of our claims, but part of our coverages are sometimes we'll have covered claims where we're defending the decision of the elected governing body. And again, it's not a lot of the claims, but some of them, what bubbles up in hindsight is that clearly the decision was taken on less than great information, or the decision was taken in haste, right? So to the extent you all can control that risk, right? If you feel like as a council, hey, we need more time to deliberate, or maybe we need to check in with the attorneys, understand what our options are, where the thin ice is and where we're on solid ground, or maybe we need to check in with the administrator. Take that opportunity, right? That helps you manage that risk around those difficult decisions, right? And we'll talk more about how it applies to quasi judicial stuff in a little bit, okay? Make a commitment to consider matters on their merits alone. Do you ever get the tug and pull where someone's kind of tugging on you to make a decision for what you know intuitively is the wrong reason? Not a good place to go for risk management, right? Sometimes it might even be a difficult situation where it's that small but very vocal minority that wants to do something, but we know it's not authorized, or maybe it's not within the realm of the city council, right? Or maybe it's something where if we go down that path, it's going to be used against us somewhere down the road later on, right? So keep that in mind as well. I think it does require us to make a commitment to set aside personal considerations sometimes, irrelevant considerations, right? Ones that are just flat unlawful or unauthorized, we need to be willing and able to put that aside, right?
I think we just did that though recently, because there was a lot of high emotion.
Yeah,
And people said a lot of things, and I know I said, look, I have to follow
yeah.
legal guidance, right? And I say, I love it, hate.
Yeah, that's tough on quasi judicial, right? Yeah, because you can have, if all the evidence points one direction, it can be frustrating to people who for irrelevant reasons want you to vote no, but you have to, buy into that. And it's an education piece too, because we're the ones subject to those rules. So do what you can on the education piece to say it. I'll pull it forward now. I'm going to touch on it later. In quasi judicial matters, I think a good tool for you is to remind folks of the fundamental fairness concept, right? And if you remind them, hey, if it was your application, I think you would understand that this is a decision in the quasi judicial realm that has to be based on existing standard. It's not a popularity contest. It's not yes or no based on personal opinions or irrelevant considerations. It's a fact-based and standard-based determination, right? And you got to be champions of that, right? You got to love, who loves process? You got to love process for the sake of process, because process is a product in and of itself that you as the element, right? And that's a great thing. That's a great thing. All right. I think it also requires recognition that yes, we're a group of 7 elected officials. We're a band of co-equals, all on equal footing, right? But we are members of what is essentially you get paid.
Actually,
Well, you're volunteers.
there's a small
essentially.
stipend.
Yeah, you're a volunteer, part-time citizen, legislative and policy-making body. But we're a band of co-equals, right? And so part of risk management and part of working towards yes and working towards good government, where faith and trust in government is raised, right, is to understand it's a we job, right? Yes, in deliberations, particularly on legislative matters, we bring our own personal viewpoints and our own personal preferences. And yes, we fight like heck for our own point of view, but we're working towards what? The one voice of counsel when we take action. Yes, deliberate with many voices, but speak with one voice. We'll talk about some risk dynamics about that in a minute. Did you have a question?
Oh, no.
Nope, you're good. All right, let's go to the next slide. It's true for everybody in a public organization, but remember, as local government officials, part of your role is to deliver good governance, which I think both practically and in terms of risk management and legal liability really depends on just committing to a couple of core civics concepts. There's more than need, but I've listed a couple of them. If you commit to the civics principle on the left-hand side of the slide, then I think by and large, the risk issue that's related to it, the liability issue, takes care of itself, right? Commit to openness and transparency, and you'll have few, if any, claims or disputes around compliance with the open meetings law. Okay, we're not covering that topic tonight. I'm sure that Carmen and the team do a good job explaining all those rules, the rule of 3, and so on and so forth. Commit yourself to fundamental fairness, and you'll have few, if any, situations where someone's saying, you're violating my due process right. It doesn't happen all that much in real time, because what's going on behind the scenes, particularly for quasi-judicial proceedings, and staff is attending to all these prerequisites to a good public hearing to make sure there's a proper record. The mayor is guiding us through a hearing where everyone gets a chance to speak. all those kinds of things. But if it ever unfolds in the moment where somebody stands up and says, if you do that, you're violating my constitutional rights, what's your best risk management tool in that moment? Slow it down a bit. Slow it down. Maybe you just maybe you need a little bit of time and space. If it really does have some traction to it, you gotta take a little bit of time and talk to the city attorney, right? Sometimes it's easily dispatched with, city attorney, do we have an issue here that we need to attend to? No, there's been proper notice or whatever it may be, right? That kind of thing. Commit to being predictable and even-handed, right? They don't do this anymore, I don't think, but for the new folks, you took the oath of office, right? It used to be, I'm dating myself, but in the old days, when you took the oath of office, the next thing that would happen was the clerk would come up and give you this massive book. Hundreds of pages of ordinances, right? You don't do that anymore, right? But it's all there still, it just happens to be online, right? So as the governing body, there are hundreds of pages of ordinances and statutes, right, that govern how we do our work, both substantively and procedurally. It can seem a little confining to be subject to all that, but that's it. We gotta know the rules and play by the rules. We don't wanna have a situation where either from a liability perspective or even from reputational risk, where we have a vibe that the rules are not being applied in a predictable and even-handed manner. Someone comes in front of council for a request, maybe it's even like an administrative request, and they go to staff first. Yes, we have some guidelines for that request. Oh, well, that was easy. I knew from staff what the rules were. I knew what was expected of me. When I got to city council, the discussion was plain and straightforward. I understood the reasons for their decision, and I got my approval easy peasy. You don't want to have a situation where somebody who's got the same request has a different reaction, where they're thinking, well, that's odd, because I felt like they were asking for some things that I didn't think were required. They cost me some more money to present my request. When I got to the meeting, there were some strange discussions going on, and most concerningly from a risk perspective, lo and behold, the night my item was up for a request, that's the night when the city council, for the first time, took some novel and unprecedented interpretation of their own rules and turned me down, or approved me, whatever the case may be. That's how you get to the types of legal claims there, equal protection or certiorari. Certiorari is just a fancy legal word for made up decision, arbitrary decision, okay? And then lastly, in terms of good governance, civility and mutual respect, right, with each other as co-equals on the council, with staff that you interact with, and with citizens. It's absolutely the case. I ask this everywhere I go, so I just ask you, I'd like to hear your feedback. Does it feel like incivility is a little bit on the rise in society?
I think in society, but
Not so much here.
not amongst us.
I
That's
don't
great.
feel the need to tell you what I
Yeah.
think about that.
No, I think actually we're very civil. Like,
Yeah.
I see
Awesome.
other
Yeah.
municipalities, and I've been to them, and they're not always as simpatico when they disagree.
Yeah, that's awesome. Continue to embrace that, right? Can continue to show that, right? Because sometimes in this world, maybe it comes from the outside during public comment or something else. Sometimes the job might ask that we practice civility even in the face of incivility. But you're in a great spot there, right? And you have the tools to show the community that no matter how much we disagree on a substantive issue, we're always respectful, civil, professional, courteous, having dividends and spades in terms of faith and trust in how you do your work, right? All right, let's talk about, let's flip the page and talk about organizational structure and liability. This doesn't tie a little bit more to things that are directly in CIRSA's wheelhouse, because sometimes the question we get from elected or appointed officials is, well, can I be sued and held individually and personally liable for something that I do or don't do as an elected official? And the answer is yes, it's possible. It's possible. The good news, right, is that we have good protections for you, right? As long as elected officials, we are staying within our lane, staying within the scope of our authority and not acting in a willful and wanton manner, right? So those are two kind of strange phrases that come directly out of the state immunity statute that protects you. That state immunity statute, as you know, essentially says the city, and by extension CIRSA, will defend, right, and indemnify you against liabilities for acts or omissions as a public official. But those protections have a limit to it, right? Those protections are in place only so long as you're acting within the scope of your employment and not acting willfully and wantonly. So scope of employment simply means The statute doesn't require defense or indemnification, and your insurance does not provide defense or indemnification for liabilities that are wholly unrelated to your public duties. This is not an umbrella policy for everything you do in life. Right? This is a policy that covers you in your capacity as an elected official, right? Scope of employment permeates, that concept of scope of employment permeates every municipal organization, right? Because we all agree that certain jobs are council's job, right? And certain jobs are not council, right? Do you have a short-term rental license ordinance? I think you do, because I just heard something about
Yeah,
that.
we do.
Right.
It's officially limited to 15, but you
Yeah.
always have some players that try to push it to maybe 19, you know.
Yeah, right.
Unofficially.
Right, so I hope my analogy doesn't fall apart, but under your own ordinances, who's responsible for making the initial determination on whether or not a person is eligible to receive a license? Who is that? The clerk? So within whose scope of employment?
Oh, it's not ours.
Yeah, by your own ordinance, right? You said that we're gonna make that an administrative decision of the city clerk, which means we're as a group gonna let that go. Not our job. We want to spend our time on other stuff, right? And it does have a real liability aspect to it, as we'll talk about in a moment. So that's scope of employment. And it's conversely, within whose scope of employment was it to decide whether or not we have a policy and rules regulating short-term rentals in the first place? Whose scope of employment? That's you. Love it. Embrace that role. You're the policy citizen, part-time, volunteer, legislators, and policymakers. But throughout your code, you'll see many, many ordinances where you have delegated authority for certain types of decisions to staff. That means it's staff's role to make those decisions, right? And they get the hot potatoes. They understand that they don't put the hot potato back in your lap, and we also understand that we don't individually and improperly take over the hot potato, right? Because that can create a real potential liability risk. Yeah.
So with that though, because there have been some discussions that we've had in various issues, and I'd say the last month or two, about staff wondering if this actually should be a staff decision.
Yeah,
Because there's a lot of responsibility that maybe should not be a staff decision.
right. So now you're getting back to the concept of framing up whether we want to have a legislative discussion, but you got to do that through the proper process. If you have an ordinance that makes it clearly the city administrator's job, and we say, there seem to be a lot of issues that come up on that. We'd like to take back some of the policy piece of that. You have to amend your legislation through the proper process. Even more risky than, getting off script with a rule that is in place, right? Is just taking things over with no framework for it, right? Now it just sounds like it's willy-nilly, and it really would be from the claimant's perspective, right?
Sam, I've got a question for you.
Yeah.
So let's just hypothetically have this conversation. If something that was not under the purview of a council person, such as an employee having issue with another employee that might be above them. And because we don't have outside human
I was
resources,
just
we
gonna have you
don't,
hit the next slide. Yeah, go ahead.
the human resources person in that position was the person that they were having a problem with. What is their recourse as an employee?
Well, you gotta look at your personnel policy and see what framework we put in
So no
place.
recourse is what.
No, I'm saying there's recourse, yeah,
Okay,
yeah, but I don't know what it is in your particular circumstance, because I haven't looked at your personnel policy. But I'll use an example, by the way, I need to ask this, am I getting close to a live one?
yes.
Is my radar be going off? All right,
I
I'm gonna
mean,
make a general
I'm not gonna
comment.
make it public.
I'm
so
gonna make
just
a
gonna say
general comment for
hypothetical.
y'all. In the matter of HR, right, you have to remember, that you're the citizen, part-time, volunteer, legislator, and policymaker. Right, the world of law, of employment practices, liability risk is very complex, right? And you want to embrace, how many direct reports do you have in the council?
What do you mean?
How many employees are directly supervised by the council?
One,
One, maybe two, probably the city administrator.
just one.
What about the judge
I guess we oversee the judge, but we don't really have
And the
like
city
interaction
attorney.
with him.
and the city attorney?
Well, yes.
I would tell you from an advocate standpoint, that must mean, right, you've got many other employees. That must mean by your own organizational structure, you have allocated, delegated, assigned to the administrator and supervisors downstream from the administrator, their responsibility for supervision. and for HR matters, right? I would tell you as the elected officials, love that. Love it. Embrace that because we're gonna get to the idea that it's not, Wild West. There are systems in place. But handling HR matters is significantly complex and public bodies have to do their work in a public setting. Do you really collectively in a public setting believe that any one of us or all 7 of us want to be the ones who are investigating, making findings and making decisions on some HR investigation? Are we set up as a council to do that?
So is our employee, our council,
Yeah,
our employee, are they a resource for a council member to go to who's had a employee come to them with a question?
that's what you're administrated for, I think.
Again, without getting into very much out of the hypothetical, that wasn't really a possibility, so.
Yeah, so if
I'm
you
just
have
clearing up that
in
it's
most
not
of
that-
our, most
It's
of
about
our,
as clear as mud, right, when
well,
it comes to like how an employee. Is
yeah,
able
I
to
don't,
reach-
I can't agree with that because I don't know what your rule is. I would
Right.
encourage you to talk to your administrator and your attorney. If you have a situation with regard to one of your direct reports, I would encourage you to start with the city attorney or your city administrator, depending on who the person is. From a liability risk standard, I can tell you that if you have an employment practices claim, with regard to your direct reports, you have to remember it is with regard to your attorney and your administrator. Do we all agree it's tough enough to have one boss? So the city council is not a group of 7 individual bosses. It is one boss with 7 members, right? Agree?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you have to commit to work out your own individual differences of opinion, right? So that you can speak with one voice to your direct reports. I think your administrator or managers are correct when they say, we are responsible for the voice of the corporate governing body, the board of directors, as determined by the board of directors. Now, your administrator might be more comforted if it's a 7-0 vote or a universal head nod, but from my risk management perspective, I don't care how you get there, as long as you're clear, right? And sometimes that requires difficult work among the council. Maybe you've got an issue and we say, we got to give Andrew some direction, good discussion. Mayor says, good discussion. Let's give our administrator some direction. What's the direction? We go around the table, we got 1 idea, 2 ideas. Before we're done, we got 7 different ideas of what the direction ought to be. That's when we turn to the administrator and we say, administrator, you got your direction? Right? But who owns that issue? The council. The council is the law. Right? The council has to commit. The mayor, in those dark arts that the mayors practice, you may look around the table and go, this seems a little intractable this evening, but we're going to bring it back because we're the boss and we got to work out our own differences. The way it breaks down, and I saw it many, many times when I was a municipal attorney for 25 years, is elected officials or appointed officials, and in the face of that messy discussion, they'll swing by the administrator's office later in the week and they'll say, hey, that was a messy discussion the other night, but here's what I want you to do. Is that consistent with me? Would you be frustrated if another member of council who had the exact opposite view of you were doing the same thing, right? So it does require some tough discussion sometimes, but you got to commit to work together to articulate your one voice, because the solution for resolving unresolved differences of opinion among the governing body is not for each member to take the issue on themselves, thinking they have authority to resolve it, right? Now, to put it in risk terms, I've had many a situation where, even with the best of intentions, we have employment practices claims where the claimant says, well, an elected or appointed official told me this. And I go, I don't know if that's true or not. Maybe they heard something that they thought they heard, but it wasn't true. But now we have to interview the elected or appointed official or we have their deposition taken because they're a material witness to some personnel issue, right? I've never had an elected official, right, who got personally involved in a personnel matter where there were structures in place to deal with it, ever come back to me and say, hey, that litigation process was a lot of fun, let's do it again. Right? So what I would encourage you to do is there's a chapter in the handbook here about elected officials involved in administrative roles. I know you don't have an HR department, but I would encourage you to look at the governing body level or resourcing level and think about in the appropriate setting, whether it's a work session or whatever, What is the framework that we want and how do we resource it? It's absolutely true that if a complaint that creates liability risk concerns a direct report, then you want to have an alternative system for reporting and investigating that complaint. But I would encourage you that as the council, you want to have outside resources for that. And that's even an area that CIRSA sometimes, depending on the issue, may assist our members in, right? But you have to be careful of that. All right, does that help?
Yes,
Okay.
thank you.
Let's flip the page. Willful and wanton, I'm gonna leave it there because it sounds like an ominous phrase. But willful and wanton, there's no protection for, under that statute or under your insurance if civil liability flows from willful and wanton conduct. Willful and wanton conduct just simply means bad stuff. Intentional, malicious, or criminal misconduct. Very rarely happens, but when it happens, it's almost always this back pattern. It's almost always an individual elected or appointed official or public employee throwing on a purported cloak of governmental authority or authority they don't have, right? And using that cloak of purported authority to do the wrong thing, to do bad things to people. And it really would be bad stuff. It'd be like, well, I don't know, conscripting the building official into a campaign to make sure my business competitor never gets a building permit for no good reason other than they would just be a competing business. Right, or misusing governmental authority to go after my political enemy, or whatever it may be. We all know what that stuff is, right? But we're going to stay far away from it. The way you manage that risk is sometimes, you know, we can, if we sense that, hey, I'm not sure, I feel a little myopic about this. What am I doing here? Your city attorney and your city administrator are here to help protect you and keep you in a safe place. So if you ever have, you know, you're dealing with some issue individually, and you feel like, hey, is it appropriate for me to get involved in that, or you should never feel like it's always appropriate to make the tactful call to your administrator. Hey, think about this. Is this appropriate? Will this get me or the organization right on thin ice? What are my options here? So that you have an understanding of where you might be treading on the thin ice. Right? Okay. Let's see. This all kind of, I should back up because this all sort of begs the question of what's our job, right, as a council. And I've already hinted at this. We're the legislative and governing body. We're the board of directors of the corporation. And then by your organizational structure, you have an administrator who, as it states directly in your code, is your chief administrative officer responsible for the administrative affairs of the organization. So there truly is a distinction between policymaking role, legislative role, which is your role, and the administrative role, which you handed off or assigned to your administrator, right? I think in terms of how I encourage you all to look at it is kind of in this hierarchy. Let's go to the next slide. Maybe one more slide. Maybe even one more slide after that. There we go. Right. You want to think about where do we as council individually and collectively spend our energy and our effort. And I would commend to you that it's on the top two tiers of the graphic on the left-hand side, right? As a governing body, a legislative body, you're dealing with ownership and governance issues. You're the part of the organization that's uniquely situated to help determine the needs and wants of the community at that writ large level, then help determine how we put governmental resources on that, right? And then your administrator and people downstream of the administrator are responsible for management, supervisory work, and frontline inquiry. Okay. Here's a couple more tips around this stuff. Let's go to the next slide. Just understand the job description. Recognize that yes, there is you have this individual ambassadorship role of the organization, but when it comes to taking action, right? I'm pretty sure if you read all those ordinances, right? There's no ordinance that says the powers of the council may be exercised by any single council member. It's a we job. So success comes in collaboration and trying to work to at least bring, right, a majority of the members around to our point of view. And even the open meetings law makes it clear that city council, town board can only act as a council board by the action of the majority in a public meeting setting, right? That's very important. There's also safety in numbers. I know your city attorney's not here right now, but they will tell you there are a lot of additional legal protections that apply when it's clear we're acting collectively in our meeting room as a city council. That's just intuitive. You can see how that scenario plays out. What if you already adopted your short-term rental ordinance, right? What if, you know, are those emotional and controversial ordinances?
Sure.
Right? You know, what if you're on the cusp of voting for your ordinance, right? And somebody says, if you pass that short-term rental ordinance, it's unconstitutional and I'm gonna sue just you. What? What are you talking about? I'm just one of 7 council members making a collective decision of the council. They can see intuitively, the fact is there is safety in numbers and there's all sorts of additional privileges that apply. Not so strong if we get individually and improperly involved in administrative affairs, right? Because legislative immunity does not apply to administrative matters, right? And so the protections are a little bit less in that realm, okay? All right, I'm gonna leave the rest of the stuff there in the interest of time. We've already touched on this with your question, but adherence to organizational structure, let's go ahead and another slide, is particularly important with respect to employee relations and the handling of administrative matters. As we mentioned, you do have some direct reports, right? But among your 40 or some employees or more, 50?
Oh, we have about 30.
30? Yeah, among all those employees, you've decided by your own organizational decisions that you as council only want to be the direct supervisors of a couple of them, right? So make sure we're cognizant of that, right? It's not that administrative matters are completely hands off, you know, you're allowed to ask questions, hey, what was up with that? But use your administrator as your point of contact for that, right? So it's a wonderful thing to have that resource, and you've spent a lot of resources on having that. It's analogous to a private sector board of directors CEO, where you have a city council administrator, right? Relationship, where you can then take those issues to the administrator, or maybe you have a system where it's okay to contact the department head as well, right? But you want to have a good communication flow around that as well. Okay, let's go to the next slide. So I think a couple of tips around that is establish in collaboration with your administrator and through council discussion, hey, what's our process? As a council, we have a question about an administrative matter or a concern or a citizen brings us one, how do we deal with that issue? Do we send an email to the administrator? Do we send an email to the mayor? Do we investigate it ourselves? That kind of thing, right? And understand that there's a certain point in time where the handoff goes to staff and then it may come back to you when it's a need for council direction, right? All right, do you all get citizen inquiries or citizen emails every now and then?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Daily?
Daily.
Daily. Did you know that the elected official job was a day-to-day job?
I did. I have no problem with that.
Okay. Even with respect to the matters that have been assigned to staff.
If someone has a question about a development in town or a parking lot, such as I had as I was walking into council tonight, I will listen to them and I will tell them what I can and cannot do. That's what I do every time.
Yeah. Be careful of this citizen interaction. Sometimes it's right, and it's true in your ambassador role, you serve as eyes and ears for me, right? But do we all agree sometimes there's more than one side to the story?
Oh, yeah.
And do we sometimes, and when I say be a champion of process, short-term rental is, I hope I'm not hitting on a live one, but this might be an example. When you set up your short-term rental ordinance, you probably set up a bunch of criteria and requirements for your application. One of the most frustrating things is you could spend all that time and effort collectively to figure out these are what our rules are gonna be, but somebody is frustrated by the rules. And I get that, but their natural inclination then is to do what? Contact, or either ignore them or contact their elected or appointed official to see if they can help with a what end run
Yes.
around the rules. Is that what the decision makers who just adopted the rules ought to be enabling or being allow themselves to get conscripted into, right? Yeah, and it can lead to liability situations. We've had administrative decisions where people have filed a legal complaint that says, I just promised this by an elected or appointed official. I relied on it to my detriment. I spent money on it. And it turns out that we've got a battle against that because that's not right, correct. The person may have had a parent authority, but they can't find the organization. Give you an example of scope of employment. Does any one council member have the authority? If there's a contract that requires council approval, does any one member have the authority to negotiate and approve that contract?
Sometimes the mayor has the authority to negotiate.
Yeah.
But he asks for that authority.
And then they give me a range, for example.
Yeah,
So I have to operate within those parameters.
right. So be careful of that because I want you to all be protected. But do you ever have, this may never give rise to a third-party liability claim, but do you ever have situations, do you have council reports before you adjourn from the meeting? Sometimes you go,
We used to.
yeah, Or
Well,
anybody have anything else?
Well, we always
Mayor
have
and
a section at the end for mayor and council that they would like to bring, something up.
Yeah, so be careful of this dynamic. I think it's a wise body that's dependent to this issue. What if we have council reports and one of the members says, Mayor, I've got something to report before we adjourn. Since our last council meeting, I did this. And everyone's eyes open wide. Right? That may never give rise to a third-party liability risk. It might. But I think it's a wise council that's attuned to that and has, as best you can, common understandings and norms of conduct of how we purport to represent the city and the city council in between meetings. So they're not surprise moments, right? So that there's not, right, a potential for a wedge being driven even to the point where we have a liability risk that ends up in CERSA because of that kind of thing. It may be difficult, but you want to think about those issues and attend to them as best you can so that it really is an internal governance issue, right? Where you want to try and have, agreed upon norms of conduct around that. All right, let's flip the page. I think we covered most of that stuff. On ethics, we do separate trainings on ethics. So just in respect for your time, I just want to point out that one of the handouts is a quick summary. The state code of ethics is like 15 or 20 pages, single page, it's based. So I give you a 1-page handout. So it's my handout. I take full ownership of it just to kind of highlight some of the key rules, right? And I've listed them on this slide here. From a risk management perspective, ethics is one of those areas where it truly is an individual, personal, uninsurable, unindemnifiable risk, right? And what I'm saying there is the city may, if you breach a code of ethics, the city may have no obligation to defend or indemnify you, and your source of coverage may not cover it. Right? So your best risk management is just to make sure you have a good working familiarity with what the ethics rules are required, so that you're prepared to spot and deal with ethics issues before they become full-blown crises. Right? So think about what that means. Make sure you have good understanding of the conflict of interest rule, what an interest is, right? Some action of the council is going to directly and substantially affect your own personal interest, and you have a conflict, you have to recuse yourself. You have to make a disclosure on the record that you're recusing yourself. You have to excuse yourself from the council's discussion and vote, and you have to refrain from attempting to influence the other citizens. Right? Now, last one's important because we've seen ethics plans where the person did everything right on the first 3 items, but for some reason they stayed behind and they continued to participate, right? And somebody, for whatever reason, whether it was for sport or they thought it was legitimate, they made a complaint saying that council member, they had a conflict of interest. Yes, they recused themselves, but they still engaged in behavior that was an attempt to influence the flow of decision. Claimants sometimes lose those, sometimes they win them, right? But you have to be cognizant of that as well. So if you have a conflict, I would encourage you to find somebody else, let them do their speaking for you, right? Let them be your representative. It takes you out of the crossfire on this issue. Confidential information, obviously. A practical thing on that is make sure you have good systems for protecting confidential documents and discussions, even like in executive sessions, make sure that we understand that executive session discussions are confidential, right? And that we all agree, right? Of everything that's discussed that's confidential in an executive session, we don't release it unless we agree as a council to do that, right? Gifts, so it's not your salary, it's also not the lavish gift that they need a public service, but more seriously, just recognize the state constitutional amendment. The real takeaway is so much about gifts is just timing and context, right? The gift doesn't seem right in a particular time and context. There are actual rules, there's a $75 rule, so on and so forth, but just decline a gift if it doesn't seem like it's appropriate, right? Last thing, do you agree with this notion on ethics, fair or unfair? Sometimes in the world of ethics, right, perception is reality, and reality is perception, right? So whatever that calculus looks like to you, they just recognize that appearances of impropriety, right, can have impacts. They're over my pay grade because they're not liability issues, but they're risk issues for an organization and for you individually. Because you may have a situation where you go through all that exercise to figure out, do I have an actual conflict of interest? Okay, I don't. So I don't have to recuse myself. But then you get to the meeting and it still feels like there's this cloud in the room, right? That's a good opportunity to do what you did at your last meeting. You take that opportunity to make a disclosure, work through the exercise of confirming whether you can be fair and neutral and make a decision based solely on the merits. And you gotta walk the walk. If you can't, then recuse yourself, but if you can, make a record on that. Okay. Beyond ethics compliance, commit yourself to high standards of personal conduct. Sometimes I think being on a multi-member public body is gonna ask of you to engage in personal conduct that you might view it as a bit of a personal sacrifice. Like, I'd rather not, but to make the institution of the city council stronger, okay, I'll do it, right? So some of these personal sacrifices mean things like setting aside a personal interest or agenda when there's a lack of support. Like one may have run for office or said, the only reason I'm running for office is so that we have an ordinance that does this, right? But if I can't find, right, 3 more members to come along with me, I have to be willing to shelve that personal interest or agenda in view of service of the work plan of the council as identified by the council as a whole. So do you ever have split votes? Yeah. Is it okay if you're on the 3 side of a 4-3 vote to go back to your people and say, hey, I didn't vote for that stinker? Sure you can. I'm just an insurance guy. You can tell them whatever you want. But they know how you voted, right? They know how you vote. So do we all agree with the idea that sometimes we win some and sometimes we lose some?
Yeah.
So in terms of making the organization, council is an ongoing institution, right? And it goes on long after we get off that train. So isn't part of the fiduciary responsibility to make the engine stronger during the time that we're on it, right? So maybe, yeah, sure, you could tell people I didn't vote for that, but maybe is the message different in terms of the strength and standing of council if we say instead, well, I didn't vote for that one, but you know what? We had a really good discussion. We had a lot of different perspectives of the council. I fought like heck from my point of view, but ultimately the council decided to go a different direction, and I respect the decision of the council. The way it translates to real liability risk is we have had claims where somebody on the 3 side of a 4-3 vote could not let it go and decided to individually pursue a campaign to undermine the decision that was reached by the governing body. And we've had situations that have gone so far where that individual member got a notice of claim trying to hold them personally responsible for tortious behavior. Okay, you got to be careful of that. Yeah, maybe the contract was awarded by a 4-3 vote and we don't like the vendor or for some odd reason, but we can't unilaterally go on a campaign to disparage them and undermine their, that kind of stuff. So we all know that. Respect your rules of conduct. Take a look at those every now and then because they may have, let's see, you adopted some rules last year, right? Resolution majority, yeah. So we may not have had a hand in all of them, right? But we want to respect what those are. And then the last one on this page is just one I mentioned. Do you agree with this notion? It seems like in this day and age, everybody wants to know tomorrow's news yesterday, right? And I think, what's council going to do? What do you? And they're trying to pin you down. What's council going to do? And you're thinking, I don't know. We haven't even had a chance to talk about it as council, right? Now I get there's a whole political dynamic to this, but I think it's a wise body, individually and collectively, where we're attuned to at least the perceptions that may be bubbling up internally or externally of whether we're getting ahead of or purporting to speak for council before the council has yet spoken. Because it's really like the 24/7 job thing, right? Somebody approaches you on the street, hey, what's council going to do? And you say, well, I don't know yet. It's on our work session or agenda for next month. I don't know yet. And they say, I get all that, but what's your opinion? And you go, all right, I'll bite. Here's my opinion. This is only my personal opinion. This is only my personal opinion. This is only my personal opinion. What do they feel? Council member. And I used to be a newspaper reporter. And how are they going to report it? Council member, right? So your job's tough enough sometimes, right? But if people are trying to peel you off in those situations, particularly if you believe there might be an intent to use it against you or council, sometimes think about, well, maybe we hold our powder and collectively we protect each other on this issue, particularly on a difficult issue. All right, last couple of slides on beyond another aspect of personal conduct is just recognize that inappropriate conduct can be destructive to a public body. There's a couple of items listed there. One of them is what we call the outlier syndrome, which is my boss wrote a nice article about that in the handbook about that issue. Some other ones that bubble up, right? Well, I guess in the interest of time, the only one I'll mention is your meetings as the governing body, you want to, I think, commit to avoid surprises. You know, your meetings ought not to have surprises or gotcha moments. We're all co-equal, right? Definitely ought not to have staff bashing, even if you had a concern, right, about staff. Is a public meeting the appropriate place to air grievance about staff? Right? If we're not careful, we need to understand that when we air grievances about staff that we don't supervise in a public meeting, that can create reputational risk where public employees have greater rights than private employees, right? Based on the comments that you make, right? So you have to understand that perceived power that you have as members of the governing body. Even in a moment of frustration, if we're not using appropriate language or professionalism or tact, it can get us into trouble. We have to be careful of that. So be careful of all those dynamics as well. The last one, I'm over my time, so I just want to just get this on your radar and tell you that we do separate trainings on this. We're happy to come back and do separate training on quasi-judicial matters. But you all know this, and in our newest member, you're getting oriented to this idea that you're not only a legislator, some days you're a judge, right? And I think you've had some orientation on that concept. So my two main takeaways for risk management on quasi-judicial matters is this. The first is to recognize that the due process rules that regulate our conduct individually and collectively around quasi-judicial matters, they kick in long before we ever get to the night of the public hearing, right? And they require that even before the hearing, we make sure that we're remaining impartial, neutral, that we're not engaging with people, interested parties before the hearing. If that sounds unfair, remember, what's your population these days?
About 2,000.
Of 2,000 people, there's only, and your planning commission is 7 folks. Yes, in a city with 2,000 folks, only 14 people have the power to make that decision of whether someone gets their property rezoned or gets their property subdivided, right? So the grand bargain for that power, which you want, we definitely want it, right? We don't remember all this stuff about local control the last couple of years with the governor's office. We want local control, but the grand bargain for property rights decisions and licensing decisions is the exchange for the power is to make sure individually and collectively we follow the due process rules of conduct. So the first part is at the beginning, make sure that we're remaining impartial, neutral. We're not making prejudicial pre-hearing statements. We're not engaging with parties before the hearing. We love to hear from them, just tell them to come to the hearing, right? And then the other big risk factor is before we make that decision, we make sure that we as the judges, the panel of judges, are deliberating on the actual standards that apply. And we're framing our discussions around how those standards apply to what we have in front of us as developed at the hearing, right? Yeah, it's absolutely the case that some public hearings can be really difficult. Citizens, folks will stand up and just say, vote no, vote no, vote no, but all the evidence is saying vote yes, right? Where do we have to go in that case, right? Yeah, and we can use the mayor, and the presiding officer of the planning commissioner can use a moment to remind folks, we want to hear. And we want to invite public testimony, but it has to be relevant testimony. Right? It can really feel like shit passing sometimes. And it's unfortunate because sometimes you get testimony, you got to vote no for this reason, but that reason has nothing to do with our standards or it has nothing to do with our authority. We just have to remember we got to set aside those irrelevant, inapplicable pieces of testimony, right? And we have to weigh the credibility of the testimony that we have and then make a rules-based determination. So in terms of risk management, always have a deliberation before you take action. It's nice because your hearing is the one and only hearing from a liability defense standpoint, right? So make sure you have good deliberations around that. That's all. The next slide, together with some additional resources. So my last slide, if we can go to that one more, just to wrap a couple things up here. This highlights or encapsulates what I've talked about. Remember and embrace that policy administrative distinction. Individually and collectively, remember your scope of employment, know by the rules, play by the rules, apply them even handily. I know we didn't talk about transparency rules, but make sure we're following those. And then remember that concept that it's a we job. We as a council, it's our responsibility as a collective board of directors on equal footing. I know the mayor got the presiding one, so prerogative, but as members of a body with equal footing, right? That we're all working together, and no matter how much we disagree, we can have disagreement without being disagreeable. right? And once we've made a decision, we move on and say, what's next on our plate for us to tackle as a council, right? And we just keep moving forward in that regard. And then our discussions are a safe place, right? No matter how much we disagree with each other, we're always supporting each other in those kinds of tips and tactics. They serve us well, they make us stronger, and it helps build faith and trust when it shows. As was already mentioned, I'm kind of repeating myself. You already said so, that we're a good cohesive group, right? And that we work together to work through our disagreements and work as the work of the council collectively. That's all I have. And the next slide's got some more resources for you. Handouts that I didn't mention, one talks about the use of email. Lucky you. You get a lot of emails, but you want to be careful of the issues around that. So there's a handout about email, and then one about the quasi judicial processes. So with that, I'll turn it back to the mayor. I'm happy to take questions.
All right.
But I know you got more on your plate.
Yeah, we're definitely way over time, so I would be brief, but anything important for Sam?
Thank you.
Sam, thank you very much. It was a real pleasure, and thanks again for coming up.
Yeah,
Always a good topic.
thank you, Mayor. Thank you all. Good to meet you. Good to see you all again.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Next up, Sadie, welcome.
Hi.
We are gonna talk about our business and community promotions.
And okay. So we've been doing lots of fun things this summer. We've gotten pretty far on a few initiatives. Council last year approved me going to a Colorado State Tourism Leadership Conference. It's been a year-long journey where we're working with other tourism professionals in the state of Colorado. And part of what we needed to do was an action learning plan, which was just something outside of my normal scope of work to help kind of enhance community. And I picked the Virginia Canyon Mountain Park Visitor Plan. We don't have one, so the need for one is important. So the first thing we did was get together a working group to talk about what are all the key players' issues and concerns. And we really made great progress on having some amazing conversations around solutions first instead of finding, looking at just all the concerns we had. We kind of started to tick away on some of the solutions. One of the biggest things that we noticed was a need for a way to kind of track the metrics of what the increase in visitation might be doing to our infrastructure, to our finances, to our data, to the impacts. So through COMBA, I was made aware of what are called field sessions from the Colorado School of Mines. These are intern programs where we can apply for Colorado School of Mines students to build us something or do a project for us. So I had the Colorado School of Mines kids build us a data analytics dashboard. So we're still in phase 1 of this dashboard, but I wanted to share it with you guys because Mayor and Andy have seen it and
Very impressive.
we are super excited by it. So this is our data analytics dashboard. And like I said, we're still in the beginning stages of development on what this will continue. I applied for a second one. So I should hear by the end of this week whether or not we'll get more interns to help us continue build this out, make it easier for me to work with it. We do have a community member that is a data analytics expert and she's volunteered and she's been helping me, which is amazing because to be honest, it's a lot to get this updated. So the next group will be focusing on making sure it's easy to update and something that even if it's not me, someone can be trained on how to update this dashboard. So what it takes is all of our data. We have so much data through the county's placer data, through the county's arrival list data, which talks about spending data, through Wonder's amazing sales tax reports and the new robust report and how it breaks down sales, how we project sales tax versus budget. Argo has been very transparent in sharing their ridership numbers with us. So we've been able to get Argo ridership data. This also takes into account parking data. And then next thing it will start to layer in is EMS and fire impact data. So we'll start getting reports from EMS, fire, and police to see also about the weight of that. So we'll start being able to analyze all sorts of different things when it comes to visitor management. And instead of being reactive, we can be a little bit more proactive and kind of see problems before they arise. On the dashboard, on the front page, you can see kind of average visits by spending category, sales tax income by category, Argo ridership data, both the Idaho Springs Skate Park and Virginia Canyon Mountain Park visitation trends. The reason that we sectioned out the skate park is because it is majorly used as overflow parking in our system.
Cindy, can you make it a little bit bigger? I'm sorry, I can't see it.
Yeah, absolutely, I can make it bigger. Let's see.
Is it?
Is that better? Let me take, oh, that's okay,
Jumped right into too big.
there we go.
Is that our
Yeah, that's
projected?
good. Can you guys see that a little bit better?
When we go into economic metrics, we can see total budget by year soon. So it will start showing, I'm working on getting this trued up. Right now it's showing as nothing. But what we'll be able to do is have month-to-month comparison, year to date, and then total by budget, what we're projecting towards what we've gotten versus what we've projected we're getting. So if I don't get awarded the next field session, Shelley has committed that she'll help me kind of like tie up these loose ends and get it to a good point where we can start putting this as a publication for internal staff, city council, business community promotion board to see it regularly. And then the goal would be to monitor it and then pick and choose what we want as a forward facing dashboard, being able to have a live updatable dashboard that residents and visitors, if they want, can see it. Here you talk about our visitor data and kind of seeing and you can filter each one of these dashboards by year, by time. You can filter them, you can export them. Visitation trends is one of the most robust. This comes out of Arrival List. This tells us where our visitors are coming from. This is inbound commuters, people that come here to work from somewhere else. Out of market visitors obviously make up the large portion of our people. Here are our residents. And then you can see here time spent in Idaho Springs and that average and what that looks like. This is Argo ridership data, and again, very grateful for them to be transparent and sharing this data. This also talks about their parking capacity, so their parking space capacity and how many times they've been parked out or over parked. So this will continue to get updated. This is our internal parking. So this is Idaho's Visit Park, Idaho Springs, revenue by location, and then like the massive average ticket per day trend. This has all time in it. So we uploaded every parking data we have ever had since 2022 into this dashboard. So we can really filter this down and get, like, if we just wanted to do, let's see. Let's just look at 25. Oops. 25 and 26. So here's 26 as of right now. So average length of stay is 2 hours and 90 minutes. How many transactions we've had, and how much revenue so far. So again, this will continue to be updatable, and we can request different changes within it. This is spending data. This is talking about people's spending, not our spending. This is how people are spending in our system and what they're spending on. The reason automobile services are so high is that it's gas. So you can see gas and restaurants are the two top things people come to Idaho Springs for, and then drop it down through. Lodging falls in there. Obviously, it's because of the expense of lodging, not versus the quantity of times people are purchasing lodging. It's how much money they're spending on lodging. Lodging, I'm trying to get clarity if that includes our Airbnbs or not. I'm not sure that it does. I'm sure that it includes all of our people with lodging licenses, meaning that that is any hotel, motel. But I don't know that it includes our STRs right now. I'm trying to get clarification from the data source on what's included in that lodging category. So that's and then Wonder breaks these down similarly in her sales tax. They're very aligned in the categories of business. Wonder does a great job of like breaking that down into kind of how businesses are categorized, so that again, we can continue to look at this data and start seeing as it evolves, changes and flows over the course of the next however long it's gonna take it to get perfect. It's gonna take me a little bit to again get it trued up, train myself how to use it, so I can train someone else how to use it. Hopefully we get awarded this next field session and that will really help in that regard. But any questions on the dashboard before
I did wonder, where can we see this? Is that available?
It's not available yet. It's hosted on Idaho Springs' servers. So we purchased what's called a Power BI dashboard. So this is hosted on OneDrive, or it's like in the cloud or whatever. And so it's hosted through visit@idahospringsco.com. So soon, the next step is to be able to create user access for any staff member that wants to just be able to log in and view it. And you'd be able to access it with just your visit or just your Idaho Springs email address.
This is a wealth of information.
Yeah, there's so much good information in here. As soon as I get more training, I'm gonna have Guy and I sit with the students and make sure like he knows how to use it, because a lot of the data that he likes to see is in here, and Andy as well. Andy asked lots of good questions when we did our meeting with the students, but they're really lots of good information in here and continuing to grow it. So that was one of the main things that came out of that visitor management plan conversation that I've been having. Another big thing that came out of it was Andy and Chief and I sat down and created a crisis communication operating framework. Fun stuff. We realized that as Virginia Canyon Mountain Park continues to expand, it's just a matter of time before there's an incident in Virginia Canyon Mountain Park that might need and rise to the level of us needing to have public statements and be dealing with media and or lots of things around that, and wanting to have a framework around who's responsible for what and kind of a course around that, as well as providing staff with what's called by time statements, both internal staff and then business owners, as well as business promotion board members, city council members, having an opportunity that if you are contacted by media around an incident, having a prepackaged statement that you can give that kind of points people to the right point of person.
Wouldn't we just automatically go to the chief on that, like we do now?
Yeah, you would, but not everybody that, like, not every business person would, not every, business and community promotion board person would, not every ARGO staff
How
member
are we gonna
would.
get all those guys on board to do that?
Yeah, so luckily through just education through the Business and Community Promotion Board, ARGO's already on board because they're a part of the working group for the visitor Virginia Canyon B Camp work group. So we created an awesome working group, and EMS and fire and police have had several meetings now with them, as well as just larger meetings and smaller subgroup meetings of all the people involved in kind of management around V Camp. And so most of those players, Comba, Friends of V Camp, Argo, they're all very engaged and on board and will easily participate.
See, I just want to say one thing really quick. It's pretty amazing the national and even international notoriety that can happen with a small city. And I will specifically point out, I know a lot of you remember, there was an elderly gentleman who was tased in his doorway. And just through that, I received a very specific death threat that they hoped that me and all of my family members died a horrific and painful death, and specifically mentioned Lou Gehrig. The chief, I believe, had a death threat come in from a Scandinavian country. So I'm saying even reaching out internationally, I had somebody from Sweden say, does that make you feel like a man living through your thugs in blue, and stuff? I mean, so I'm just saying, this template and getting people on board, we navigated this fine, these type of things.
Right, so far.
The Kristen Glass incident, another horrific one. But because we did have an officer on scene, once again, Idaho Springs back in the certainly at least the national, if not international spotlight. So these things can happen and these templates just make it easier for everybody to follow
Chuck,
along.
that's horrible that that happened to you and the chief, absolutely despicable.
Yeah, so I think what we kind of started as we started to talk through kind of where all the opportunities around visitation management and VCAM, we started to see some areas where we're like, hey, like, these are some low-hanging fruit solves that we could immediately institute and make sure we're all on the same page. So we kind of worked through those different kind of check boxes, making sure like Friends of VCAMP and EMS and fire and police were all connected because they are work together.
Just because of what happened recently downtown,
Yes.
like maybe just some social media training in.
We're planning a couple of
I hate
those.
saying that, but I watched that whole video and I was like,
So the next community conversation, we'll be talking a little bit about some points of contact, or just some tips and tricks on what is your rights as a business, what are things you can do, can't do, just kind of because of those incidences. Again, as we increase visitation here, we are become more of a target for those kind of auditors, unfortunately. And again, Chief and I spent a ridiculous amount of time on that one incident. And so luckily, we are able to kind of navigate those things well in a small community because we do all know each other. But as we continue to grow, having some frameworks in place is important. So really that is something we're addressing as well. So we've been working.
well, I'm sorry I even have to bring it up.
No, I know, aren't we? It was ridiculous. So through this framework, we've really just worked through a lot of things. We have a couple of next steps that are really exciting. County was awarded a destination blueprint, and this will be part of Idaho Springs' focus of destination blueprint is expanding the visitor management plan for Virginia Canyon Mountain Park. So that was one of the things that we brought forth in Clear Creek's application, was that we would love assistance on continuing to move this initiative forward. So it's not just me kind of outside of my scope of work doing a visitor management plan, that we can bring in state level support from Destination Blueprint, and they were awarded that. We also have recently applied, which council is aware of, for the Rural TAP program, and that's another leg of that application, as well as continuing to work on visitor management and making sure that we have a solid framework in place. So we've just really established a lot of strong foundations as we move forward. So I'm just hoping council continues to support those initiatives. A few things that we have noted, we do need some better data collection in Virginia Canyon Mountain Park. The trail counters that we have in there are not ideal. They're not ideally placed. And they're not, especially for the park as it works with the gondola. So it's hard to differentiate between gondola users and park users. And so COMBA does have some recommendations. So in the next couple of months, I'll be bringing a recommendation with COMBA on some additional trail counters to add to the system so that we have a better understanding of who's in the park, how they're using the park, and where they're accessing the park. Because what we have right now is like, okay, but it get a lot of double taps off of that for sure. And then, just another brief, broad update from the board is like really making a lot of progress this year. We've continued to see strong response to the business community getting involved. We created a one-page, like, who are we and what we do as the Business and Community Promotion Board. I'd like to provide this asset to Wonder so that Wonder can start handing this out with new business licenses. I think it would help when you start as a new business owner in Idaho Springs, if you're immediately handed something like, hey, these people are here to advertise for you and support you, and even simple things like throwing grand openings and making sure you're feeling supported on social media, all those great tips and tricks on how to be successful in Idaho Springs. We've got some cool festivals coming up at the end of the year. Community conversation this week on Thursday. And then with Slaymakers participation and Tommyknockers participation, we're going to be doing a Taste of Idaho Springs Fall Harvest Festival.
Nice.
And that will be the first weekend in October. It'll be a 2-day festival,
Friday,
music.
Saturday, or Saturday, Sunday?
Friday, Saturday, Friday afternoon, Saturday all day. We'll be inviting all of our restaurants to participate in the taste, but as well as our caterers in the community to come down to Minor to participate in the taste. We have secured a food sponsor for the event. So Shamrock is going to be partnering with us on this event. So our restaurants and vendors will not be required to purchase all the food that's required for the taste. So,
Nice.
yeah, and it's going to be a fundraising event. The board decided on Charlie's Place, just as a continued hot topic.
Yes.
So all the funds raised from the Taste of Idaho Springs will go towards Charlie's Place.
Awesome.
And to note, our Furling's Fist raised over $3,000 for Charlie's Place this year alone.
Good.
So this, hopefully we can exceed that. So that's all I have to
Alright.
say.
Well, Sadie, thank you, and,
If you have questions, I'm always here.
yeah, does anybody have a quick question for Sadie? All right, Sadie, I think you're gonna be up on our next thing as well, or at least you might want to mention this.
Yep.
We got a vacancy on the community promotion board.
We did. Lindsay Valdez chose to step down from the board due to overcommitment and not really having time and space to devote the energy she really wanted to. She made a lot of really great headway, but she'll still be a great partner with CCEDC and obviously a business owner in our community. So that does put us in a vacancy position. So I put out a call for letters of interest.
All right, very good. We have 3 letters of interest in our packet. I'm going to apologize upfront to Guy and Andy, because this literally is something I had thought of just sitting here at the table, because I'd like to have given you a better heads up on this. But I do not believe we have ever had alternates. And I'm just wondering if this might be a good time, since we have 3 good candidates, if we were to name one and ask the others if they would consider being alternates. Andy, is that something we could do, understanding that we'll have to modify the how the Business Community Promotion Board is organized, only from the standpoint of that there be alternates available. I just know we have alternates on other boards.
There's alternates in our bylaws. We just didn't appoint
All right,
alternates, but
all right.
there are alternates in,
Okay, that is in the body of, okay, all right,
Mhm.
very good, thank you. This would be a good time not to lose good people.
yeah, I don't disagree with that statement at all.
But also something always is gone, so it means that
That's right.
you should be able to get a full votes, not just quorum, but a full vote.
Can I ask a question about alternates, and this is across the board? Are alternates across the board on all boards and commissions allowed to discuss even if they can't vote?
In my board, we hold open meeting format, so everybody discusses. So we open the table to everyone, whether or not they're a board seat or not. The only people allowed to vote or votes are counted are board
Of course.
board members.
Well, that's how I do HPRC too, and the lawyers do not yell, so.
Yeah, I asked Carmen, she said it was.
Just as an aside, I've heard that on planning commission, alternates aren't allowed to discuss the topics at hand, despite the fact that they should actually be educating themselves to the topics at hand.
I agree on the educational point, that's very,
Don't
very
you think
important,
that,
yeah.
like, at
They
least
may
so that
need
they
to
can have
vote.
back and forth, they don't get to vote unless they're in a seat. But they should be able to ask questions, I think.
Yeah.
That's just an aside, Chuck, sorry.
No,
Back to
I think that might be a good question, for, Nick, he's here in person under our city attorney, I'll bet we can take a minute.
I'll put it down.
That'd be a good one to get to the bottom of.
But again, we do have 2 two alternate spots for my board's
Okay,
guidelines. We just
Very good.
never activated.
all right, and, we have outstanding participation, always, and even folks who are not alternates will oftentimes maybe chime in with a good idea or something,
Absolutely.
so, okay.
That is the beauty of the meeting.
It is.
It's the
Yep.
discussion.
Andy or Guy, anything, further on this one?
Don't believe so.
Okay. All right, thank you, Sadie. Hey, last up, and we may go over a bit, is the Clear Creek Center for Arts and Education. And
We have
welcome,
some good
welcome, Carla.
news. Thank you. Can I share my screen? I don't know who's
That Dylan
who's running the,
Yeah, you're.
oh, there you are.
So you should be able
Okay.
to share.
And you should have this in your packet, but just to sort of follow along here. So if wonderful news, it looks like we are moving forward finally with, Chip and Donna have graciously, been working with us to, donate their building, which is kind of a new thing.
And for how many years?
Well, so it would be a building donation. So we are working on doing a severance of improvement, I think is what it's called, which would say the building is its own thing and the land is its own thing. And so they would retain ownership of the land, we would get the building essentially. And then there's a lot of legal things that need to be worked out in terms
But
of.
that's just a lot of money for the group, you know, that you don't have to lay out trying to
It,
go out and buy a new building or something.
It
Sounds
would
very
be.
familiar.
it would be, and it's tiny. Do tell. Do tell me what I'm walking in.
No, you're doing a great job.
Okay, so, you know, we've had some wonderful conversations with other landowners in the area and really it comes down to how do we do this at the lowest cost possible in operations to really make an impact day one.
And a cool
essentially.
building.
And a cool building.
Yeah.
We've got a lot of cool buildings around here,
Mhm.
but, and a landowner that understands it and is great, to work with.
Good partner, yeah.
And this building is right in the middle of, it's Robert's Garage, it's right in the historic downtown area. So what I'm here today to talk to you about, and I'm just gonna do it really quickly, on your time, but you have it all in the packet, and I wanna get questions out, because that's really where the rubber meets the road here. Really what we're here to talk about today is a public investment. So with all of these other CCI projects that we got the 1.538 million grant funds from, they had a significant public investment. And initially, when this project was at the old school, that was a $4 million abatement and demo that they were contributing. So that clearly covered the 1.538 million. Now we are trying to scrap together conversations with CCI because it is ARPA funds and there's a lot of scrutiny on ARPA funds to try to figure out how they can approve all of the pieces and parts that we've cobbled together here. And one of the easiest ways is a public investment commitment. And prior to me putting this presentation together for you, there was still conversation about the Bears retaining ownership of the building, and through conversations about taxes and legal and all these things, it was determined that maybe we should be looking at, maybe they should be looking at and going down the path of severing the improvements and donating the building, at least for a long term, maybe not forever, but for a piece. So a lot of complications there. However, what we're talking about here is bringing the arts education, cultural hub to our historic downtown area. And that is not the document. So passion and partnership in this energetic community space. And so we talked about the Bears and building what the city is getting, and there is a document in there that talks about other small communities
Yes.
and the economic impact that they can have. This would probably be 60 seats. It's tiny, small but mighty, I'm gonna start saying. And this is always intended to be 0 to 100 arts educational programming for our community. We're one block, this building is one block from from the senior center. So how wonderful is that? Because now we can definitely really work with the seniors and as well as we're still close to the bus stop and it's out, which is always what CCI wanted to see. It's gonna be a dynamic, flexible space, and there's images of that space in the end of the packet there. The cornerstone of, cultural cornerstone of our community, culture for all ages, life after hours. So we could be doing, while we're doing educational and more the business side of it during the day, after 6, we can do performances, we can do movies, we can do things that are, and we can have regular things that are happening after hours so that there's more activity in the downtown area. And this is a third space for our community. This is a space where we don't have a third space, right? Like home, school, or home and work. And what's that third space? We don't have that movie theater. We don't have that place to gather. So, other than the restaurants, a landmark, and this would be a landmark store. This is a gem that I think everyone knows that it's. We already have the brick restoration contractor that did City Hall as well as did the senior center come out and look at it, and he's already got a photo in my inbox. So that we can really get it shiny and new looking. We've got 1.538 million, but it is dollar for dollar match. So if we can't come up with 1.58 million, we're leaving money on the table. So that is really where the rubber hits the road here, is that we need another 800,000 to be matched. Otherwise, that money's gone. That money either goes back into the general funds of the capital, or it hopefully CCI finds another arts place to figure out how to distribute those funds. They have been amazingly gracious in letting us continue our search for this place. So right now we're leaving 800,000 easily on the table. And that's if the building donation goes through and they count all of the building donation as part of matching funds. This is a rare convergence. This is not new policy. In order to ever have to make this conversation, have this conversation again with a business, a nonprofit, a building owner, they would need to bring 1.538 million plus. We have 80,000 from the Ready Grant, the DOLA Ready Grant. We have 50,000 from the Gates Foundation just in the last couple months. We have over 1.538 million just in grant funds coming. And then we have another almost 200,000 that we've been cobbling together over time. You would have to have a generous building owner, somebody who has a historic structure that is willing to work with you and see and work with somebody to see a project through. We're gonna get this building restored. There's no cash asked directly from the city. This is talking about development fees. It's talking about tap fees. It's talking about different ways that we can have these conversations, that the city can show waivers, can show investment, and the money is dollar for dollar matched. So while you are not getting the money, the city is not gaining the money, the community is gaining the money from the grant. So it's a bit of a thing. And this would be a one-time ask. This isn't like we're asking you to maintain the building, maintain the property in the future. This is a one-time ask of community investment, public investment. It's really a partnership. We're talking about partnership from a public perspective, private perspective with a nonprofit. So we're really kind of in that multiple partnership range there. Community benefits, again, I'll say it's a restored, activated historic property. It's a true third space. Like that has been the goal, is to create a true third space, an artistic cultural hub, a community center for the city to show off additional foot traffic after peak hours and increased workforce opportunities. We're targeting around 12 employees in some manner over time. And you have this basically, we've met with staff and mayor and worked through how many fees, where the fees are, what the different offsets, where we could, so there's 4 different kinds. There's the sort of the miscellaneous in-kind contributions that can be made over time with the fees. Utility offsets, that's a huge one, honestly. And the impact offset, just from what is the impact of putting a new business in town? And if we don't move forward with this project, then there is no impact to town. And really, what is the impact when at least initially we are really focused on kids and seniors and adults, our families in our community. And then also want to talk about the parking collaboration.
Yeah, that is a
afterwards.
biggie, and this would be the first time that we had ever weighed in on this potential. But this group is willing to do something really outside of the box, like not use parking when we have our, like, premium summer, where we can't find a spot in town. Recognizing that parking generally isn't a problem in this town after 6, and certainly, there's days that we try to activate, not very successfully, maybe like a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, even in, some of our shoulder seasons, but we haven't ever had a group come to us that was willing to work with us on that kind of a level. So that it isn't taking away anything from our parking. But it only will add to, and I know we've all fielded complaints about, I'll give you one. Why are we charging for parking when I look out there and it's 75% empty? Kind of a thing. I mean, at least I hear that. And they're willing to take advantage of these more, the deader times, right? So, that's would be a first, for us to develop that.
I was on planning when we did the parking and fee in lieu of, and one of the things that we focused on was we made, if you were a downtown property owner who was going to do residential, we made it really low. I've heard criminally low, but I don't care if, I would rather support people who want to have housing downtown. And then we had businesses. This is not necessarily a business, it's a nonprofit. So I think it deserves the discussion of, this doesn't fit into the scope that we have. So, and we made a very concerted effort to help our residents. While this will definitely, I think, help non-residents, I think it will benefit residents more. So just my thoughts on that one.
And I will say, currently we have 10 spaces. There are 10 spaces that are potential on the site.
Yeah.
Um,
The Chip actually owns.
that Chip actually, yeah, that's part of that. So ideally, we would love to pay in lieu and waive that fee and get that money, and then have that space for an outdoor garden and potentially
Is that
a,
the garden space that's on the south
that is the
side?
garden
The
space on
garden
the
and like
south
the
side.
patio, okay.
Or one of the conversations that came up, so this is this could be the inside. So this would be a 60-person theater with some cabaret seating, and it would be completely flexible. Because it is a small space, we don't have a lot of room for sets and that kind of stuff. So we would use really high-end projectors to create sort of that immersive, sort of think bingo immersive experience. And we'd be able to create an Old West scene or a garden or whatever it is around us that we need, kind of thing. And it's completely flexible. So it can be a workshop area, which you can see in these lower images if you can see those. It's an event space, or it can be set up as a workshop. Solution isn't great, but and this is all that same. It literally is a black box, if you're familiar with the black box term in theaters. And then that next one that Lisa was mentioning, we've been talking to the city also about the master plan, that includes Idaho Street and being able to activate some of those improvements with our funds potentially as a match. Separate conversation from public investment, but this could be, if the parking, if we were to negotiate parking, this is just a random parking garage if the parking garage were to ever get built. But this would be sort of that little pocket garden, so that, we could do community activities and invite people to draw on a long piece of paper and then display it, or we could do outdoor garden party kind of thing, sort of like the Central City Garden on the other side. So that's really, really what the ask here is that you consider a resolution, and what are the questions about creating a resolution that would allow for public investment, whether all or some of the fees and the impact fees, the parking fees, utilities, and miscellaneous staff time on items.
Carl, thank you for coming in and volunteering all this time. You had been in before, as you had indicated, talking with myself and staff. And I'd like to turn it over to council, see what kind of questions they have for you. I'll start with Sharon. Any questions? Jeremy?
Couple of questions, I guess. The one issue with plan review fees and waiving those fees is there's still a cost to the city. Just want people, so we understand that.
Yeah, so one of on the spreadsheet, we did talk about that with staff, and my understanding is that 80% of those fees are fees that get paid to say the.
Yeah, and that's the building inspection. There is a 20% buffer there.
Sure,
And you did recognize that in your financial breakdown.
I did.
You also, I believe the number was $4,000, was the request for donated staff. Am I remembering that correctly?
On that.
The other fees are a little bit more.
I think, I'm pretty sure that's,
Yeah, and that's based on, it is based on, the $1 million build out, basically, because the building fees are based on how much building valuation is.
right.
So, if we were to be able to negotiate the parking in lieu and unlock more funds that would potentially build an outdoor space or a annex next to it, then that project cost goes up a little bit, but without getting, that was into the weeds, so sorry.
No, that's all the questions that are pertinent to this, and because you're also gonna have fire authority fees on top of those fees, so is your intent to have them also waive fees?
I hadn't gotten that far, honestly,
Just
because,
curiosity about this project.
yeah, I went strictly off of the city's fee chart.
Right,
And I don't
no, I
think
recognize
that-
where you go. How far are you in the process to change? You're essentially changing use. So there's a process for that too, because you're changing to assembly. Which is different than how it's currently probably zoned.
Storage,
For
yeah.
use, right, storage, exactly.
Wasn't it,
S1 or S2.
it wasn't commercial,
It's commercial, but it's storage. It was probably S1, S2. I have to
Okay.
look.
It
Okay.
would be when we submit for building permit, when that would come to be, and
That's also a process that has some costs that go with it.
I
I
don't,
think it's a good program, don't get me wrong, I'm just
Mm.
scrolling through the list of things in my head that I know have to be done before you can even start moving forward. So,
my question is, and I've had a lot, quite a bit of interest from the artistic community, of which we have got a pretty large one.
we do.
What kind of connection do you see with our local artists?
yeah, the program has always been and we have been focused on trying to find a home. We would have started this sooner, but had really be able to uplift those artists. So similar to Think 360 in Denver, where artists can come to us and we, if somebody's looking for somebody to paint a live painting, then they come to us and we help them understand. And so ultimately, what we've talked about doing is, similar in 360, is that we end up paying the artist and basically being the word right now, but basically they can be our consultant. So we handle all of the payments and all of that kind of thing, and then we can source them out. Or they can work with us to be educators in the building or rent the space. Like, we can work it a number of different ways, honestly, so.
Are you guys hard set on having it an assembly situation and not like, Fruta has what they call the Fruta Co-op, and essentially it's, I don't know, maybe 50, 60 artists that have these little kind of booths throughout, and you, as a, just a shopper, you can go through and introduce yourself to the artists, and all their stuff is for
I would
sale.
love to do that if we had the space. The
Right.
problem is that in order to create low-cost educational opportunities, we need to have something that makes money. And what brings in money are the performances, are the events, that kind of thing. Having the small workshops, it's just, fortunately, it just doesn't cover.
Is there space
Education.
though, like during the off times and during the day,
Mhm.
where artists can come in and work in there or have
Yes.
space in there or?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I think ultimately that is the goal. And when the thought about potentially being able to put a small annex next to it came up, like, that's immediately where my head was, like, let's get some maker spaces in there so that, whether they're co-op or however that works, like, how do we figure that out?
Right.
That was kind of the thought. This building is tiny though.
Yeah, it is
I mean,
small.
it's, I measured it at 16, the tax records say 19. So I think they're counting the storage, the cinder block storage on the side, I'm
Yeah.
not sure. But that's, yeah, I mean, ultimately, I would love to work with the staff to put together a resolution that you guys could vote on soon. So that, because as soon as the first release of funds could be as soon as mid-August, if we have everything, sort of as much the paperwork as we can, that would be the first release of funds.
Carla, what's the deadline?
As soon as possible.
I mean, because I only bring it up because obviously, there's no way to make, mid-August,
tonight, yeah.
but, is, the end of September out of the question?
No,
Okay.
absolutely not out of the question.
All right.
I think it's as quickly as staff and attorneys can move on it, if everyone is,
Yeah, and of course, if, council will.
yeah.
Okay, further questions for Carla?
Thank you.
Oh, well,
Thank you
thank
so
you.
much.
Thank you, Carla.
I just remember that every, whether it's all the dollars or half of the dollars, like, every dollar, it's dollar for dollar.
I do have one question. So calculating that you need $800,000. And I obviously am not speaking for any of council, and I'm not even speaking for myself. I'm just asking. But just say council came together and said, okay, we're gonna take away these fees. Would you spread that fee savings over the 20-year lease that it looks like you have, or the 20-year gift that you have on the
It
building?
can only be for capital improvements. So this, that's the way the grants are written.
Yeah.
I'm just looking.
I would love that, but I
Yeah.
mean, we know as an organization that as soon as the capital improvements are underway, in fact, we have already started on programming grants.
Right.
We wrote a programming grant, which is worth $5,000 to $7,000 for with Stage Connect. It's gonna bring Disney programming to our school district, and it will, they give you the rights, they give you the music, they give you the education. The educators in this system will get that first class education from that. And then we also are gonna meet in King Murphy. We're taking over the King Murphy after school program, and hopefully we'll be spreading that beyond, so
And as a, just another aside, have you reached out to the library district at all?
we have not.
It's probably
I mean, Libby and I talked
eons ago.
eons ago and like until it just became glaringly obvious that until we had a home of our own, even though the club hotel was wonderful at working with us, the packing the car up and unpacking the car and like it's too
You need
much.
home.
Mhm, yeah, absolutely.
All right, well, Carla, thank you very, very much.
Thank you, Carla.
By the way, you know, she and others have been volunteering a massive amount of time. So just a huge commitment.
Which is
And-
also recognized by CCI in some way, so.
That's good.
Yes.
Hey, a little housekeeping question.
Just to make sure I'm clear on direction, so you're okay with staff continuing to work with Carla on bringing a proposal back
And
to council for consideration of what the city's contribution would be to this project? Is that
sure,
right?
you're all right with that?
Absolutely.
I was wondering about what you're gonna do. Do you want it to be a work session first to discuss what, I mean, Jeremy brought some good points up.
Yes.
I certainly don't wanna be remiss and not discuss
Yep.
publicly and then just have staff bring something, you know, and then we'll look like we're disagreeing with you or whatever. So maybe a brief work session.
Yeah, and
To
you know,
discuss
that
what
was
we're willing
one
to let
reason I
go.
was wanting to pin Carla down on the end of September. I think we might be able to get that in.
So
I-
I'm all for it then. We can start with that.
Lisa? would you be all right? Okay,
A third space where we don't actually have to write a check.
yeah.
Seriously.
Yeah. All right, well, thank you very much. A little housekeeping, item. We do have item number 9, our Business and Community Promotion Board appointment. I want to know, is there any member in the audience or folks online that came in tonight specifically to be interviewed for the position? Chris? Okay,
I'm Carol Dewis.
thank you.
Carol.
Yeah, we got
Name all the time.
got your letter in here. You bet. We do see you all the time. All right. I would ask, just because we are really running late, when we get to that item, that we will bring you up and interview the two of you, since you did come in for that. Thank you very much. And immediately after that, we'll take a vote. Dylan, do we have anybody online? I just want to make sure I'm not missing anybody when
Sure.
we do the interviews.
If anyone, we have a couple of people online, but I don't think they're for the interview.
Okay, I think one was let's see here, Rosenbaum. or-
Michael Rosen.
Yeah, Mike, yeah. So anyways, should he come along, we certainly will interview him as well. Well, thank you, everybody. Apologize, a lot of important stuff to try to get through tonight. Please take 5 and we'll convene here.
The noise ordinance, or the noise matter, do you want to take that to the next meeting?
We just do that with Dylan. Chuck, does that not work? Did we not do
Yeah,
it
I
with
can
just Dylan?
briefly touch on it during my staff.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dylan. That'd be perfect.
Hi, Nick, how are you?
I'm good, how are you? Am I ready? Oh, I'm always ready for you guys.
It's good.
I'll be out here sooner than last week.
That's the yardstick now.
I know.
That was my latest ever.
Yeah.
What was it about?
You should see all him.
How are you?
It's not an email, unfortunately.
Just let me know. I don't know what.
I mean, I'm not around this weekend.
Yeah, but here's the deal, I don't really know what I'm about to talk about. It's not done yet. Sure, yeah, I mean, am I allowed to just say like, hey, I think Charles should be habitat and, you know, I don't know. Artist studio, would that be cool? That was really artist studio. Bill Carlson.
Yes.
I won.
Sorry.
Oh, she's still, I still.
I'm gonna stand down here. I can't get in there. Pretty good.
Little cord thingy.
I got it. Murder myself.
We'll put it right here.
Sorry.
You're awesome.
I'm okay. Working?
Yeah. Let me see it. It says it's charging, I think, yeah.
Why isn't that light lit up? All right, so it's good.
Just go with it, right?
Don't, we good?
Really?
All right.
Might change it.
Hey, I would like to, welcome everybody to the, August 10th, 2026 regular council, meeting for the city of Idaho Springs. We'll call it to order at 7:24. And, I'd like to start off with roll call, please.
Brianna Reagan, Sharon Bassis. Here. Kate Collier. Here. Janine Mariani, Lisa Manifold. Here. Mayor Pro Tem Jeremy Jones, Mayor Chuck Harmon.
Here, all please rise for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please be seated. We have an agenda before us tonight. Do I have a motion?
Make a motion to approve the agenda for August 10th, 2026.
Thank you, Jeremy. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
A second from Lisa. And any discussion of the agenda? Hearing none, all those in favor, please raise your right hand and signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Does anyone tonight feel they have a conflict of interest? All right, then we'll move on to the minutes. Do I have a motion?
Make a motion to approve the minutes of July 27th, 2026.
Thank you, Jeremy. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second from Lisa. And any discussion of the minutes?
Just to say, good job, Wonder, because it was a long meeting. There were a lot of participants and you did, and I read the whole thing. You did a really good job.
I went from like 12 pages to 8, so I did condense it and make it smaller, but thank you, I appreciate
You
it.
staying alert during that was also quite
Yeah,
remarkable.
really. And she was one of the few who couldn't ever take a mental break.
No, she was
Yeah.
not able to check
All right,
out.
I'm glad that was brought up. Thank you. All right, all those in favor, please raise your right hand and signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? We have bills before us tonight. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the bills through August 10th, 2026.
All right, thank you, Sharon. And do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second from Kate. And any discussion of the bills? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Kate Collier.
Yes.
Sharon Massis. Yes. Lisa Manifold.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Jeremy Jones.
Yes.
Mayor Chuck Harmon.
Yes. All right, next up, we're gonna discuss Business and Community Promotion Board appointments. I would like to thank both of you for your patience. Went a little long, some really important topics. And so thanks for bearing with us. No particular order, just the order I had it here in my with my sheets. Chris, would you honor us by starting us off? Sure. Well, come on up and you're not being sworn in or anything, but we're.
Don't make us do this.
Hey, you wrote a very compelling letter, both of you did. And anyways, your commitment is well known. And I would like for you just to have an opportunity to express why you'd like to be on the Business and Community Promotion Board, and then to ask staff and or council if they have questions for you.
I noticed that there was a vacancy, so I figured why not throw my hat in? I've already been attending board meetings fairly regularly, so I know it's nothing new to add to the schedule. And I've already been doing some volunteering with the board. A few times I've helped Tara with the city flowers, and I believe as Sadie already mentioned, Slaymaker Sellers is acting, which for those of you who don't know, is the business I'm associated with. It's acting as a co-sponsor to get this fall Taste of Idaho Springs and music festival going. So there's already that going on. So in one sense, it's almost just kind of solidifying some of the things that I've already been doing. I think that's probably the biggest thing right there. And, you know, I also have the experience of not only owning a business, but having worked in some other small businesses in this town. And I live here and I have a kid who is in school here, so and I have my association with the rec center, so it's like coming in from this from a lot of different angles and have some connections that I don't know if other people could say they can bring those connections in, but I definitely can. So that's why I see it as a chance to serve and maybe formalize what I've already been doing.
All right,
Let me know if
well,
anyone has any questions, please.
well, thank you very much. I'll open it up for council, questions for Chris.
I do. Chris, what is and everybody's gonna get this, so you know,
Okay.
it's not just focused at Chris. What do you feel like the thing that you're most excited about is about being part of the decision-making piece of the board?
You know, it's really nice as a person who lives in town and, you know, not only do I have to go from a business perspective, but I live here. I have to deal with the board's decisions, so it's very maybe empowering is maybe a nice word to say, hey, as a resident, I'm also getting to use that hat and help make these decisions in a formalized manner. I bring my experience because I don't just this how because I keep getting back to the question is how do we maintain quality of life for our residents and promote our town, and being somebody who's wearing both hats, I think I'm in a really good position to be a voice for that.
Thank you.
All right, anything further for Chris? Chris, I have one important question for you.
Sure.
Should you not be chosen as the new member of the board, would you consider being our first ever alternate?
Absolutely.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much. I sure appreciate it.
Thank you, Chris.
Yeah, and Carol, come on up. We also have a very compelling letter from you. I know that you've lived your whole life here in Idaho Springs, but I'd ask you the same question. If you could express to us why you would like to be on the board, and then I'm gonna open it up for questions for you.
Yeah, so I was raised here in Clear Creek, and my parents, my cousins, aunts, uncles all grew up here. I'm currently raising 4 of my own kids here. So I have an invested interest in the future of this community. I love it. I love being a part of it. I love having the businesses here. And I'm just really passionate about being a part of the community and being able to offer any help I can as a business owner. I know how helpful it is to have the community support. So I want to have that community support, and I also want to offer it to anyone else that I can. And yeah, I just would be excited to be a part of it. I have my bachelor's in business administration, and I love marketing. And so all of the work they're doing with like the trash can, making all the trash cans match, and their like wayfinding project, I think would be really interesting. And I just want to help in any way I can.
All right, thank you. I'd like to open it up, questions.
Same question. If you're a member of the board, what is the thing that is most exciting for you about being part of the decision-making piece of the board?
The most exciting part is just being able to have a voice and what it's gonna look like in the future, what my kids are gonna see, because I hope they stay here as long as I have. And I just wanna have somewhere that I'm proud to show that I raised them and that they can look back on and be proud of as well.
I do not have a question. You had a great letter. I think all 3 letters were amazing, Chuck,
They
by
were.
the way. And I absolutely so much appreciated you asking me about the alternates, because I don't think that there's ever been a time when we've had 3 such qualified people. So
Agreed.
that's just a statement I was gonna make.
Thank you. Any further questions? Same question for you, Carol. Should you not be selected as a board member, would you consider being on our very first alternate?
Yeah, I'd love to.
All right, well, thank you very much. And by the way, I've seen you at a lot of different meetings, as has Chris, and I just want to say, you know, we are very moved with the civic pride that you bring us. You know, your lives are busy, we get it, and here you are tonight trying to volunteer more of your time. And I just think that we did not want to lose the opportunity to have your talent. And I mean, both of your talent, if possible. We have 3 letters, all 3, because we have never had an alternate. And what a rich opportunity this is for us to be able to try to get it so that even if somebody is sick or on vacation, they have a full board. And as you know, because I know you've seen yourself, that is a very well attended meeting. So I think that your input would always be welcome regardless of your position. But I just want to extend a very heartfelt thank you to both of you for coming in. And now we are going to have the uncomfortable discussion in front of you about who we select. Because this is, you know, you have made it very difficult, and that's why in our meeting impromptu, I was apologizing to staff because I wasn't sure if the board was set up from the get-go as having alternates, although we have alternates on other boards, because I didn't want to let this opportunity go by. So thanks a lot. Dylan, one last check-in, just to make sure we don't have anybody else wanting to be interviewed.
Oh, yeah, I reached out to Michael and he's not able to make it.
Oh, okay, all right. Well, thank you for checking on that. I appreciate it. Discussions and, after discussions, I'll be asking for a motion.
I just want to go back to what you just said a minute ago, and we talked about it briefly in work session. I really think that there is absolute value in alternates asking questions and being part of that discussion. And I'd love to find.
And I will, I promise you, Kate, when we get to Nick's, attorney,
You'll ask.
I promise you that that's a very important question that's been on my mind since you've asked it.
Okay, I appreciate you saying that, and it sounds like Sadie kind of follows that. So right now, in my mind, I think it's a coin toss, because I can't pick either one of you, you both are amazing, and Chris has been there already, so I'm like, oh, she got there first, maybe that's what I'm gonna go on that. But both of you guys have so much to bring to the city, and I can't tell you how I appreciate you reaching out and doing more than you've already, 4 kids, for the Lord's sake, what are you thinking, girl?
3 businesses. They're cute, they're really cute.
So that's my comment, I'm gonna leave it up to you guys, I'm pushing it down the line, as they say.
Just kicking that down the road.
Oh, yeah, totally, that was the easy one.
All right, any further discussion?
I think it's also a coin toss. I agree with you. I'm glad you asked about alternates because I was thinking, you've put your name in the hat. How do we not let you get away?
Mhm.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, God, yeah. Once you volunteer.
When you've got good talent like
Yes.
this,
It's literally a ball and chain. We're gonna
Yeah.
put you on.
yeah.
I agree.
Any further discussion?
Sharon, Jeremy just gonna sit there.
Sharon, you know how to play quarters. Go ahead and do it.
Yeah, right. Give me a glass. It's a tough decision. You both are you're both very involved in the community already and you both want to dedicate more time and I don't know. It's a tough one.
I will tell you, I will be the bad guy and I will
Love
make
that
the
you're gonna
motion.
do that. Please.
But I gotta tell you, I do with a heavy heart. Because this is a really hard decision. And I'm glad, and it kind of shows you like where the egos are of the 2 people that we just interviewed, because they both were absolutely fine being the alternate, and they know they're going to have great input, whether they were the alternate or they're on the board, so,
And they already showed supporting each other too.
yeah, I
Right
know,
across
I
the
know,
line.
I know, so you couldn't ask for better folks. I am going to make the motion, that, Chris be appointed as the new board member for the Business and Community Promotion Board. So Chris Laymaker would be the new, board member, with Carol, being our very first ever, alternate on Business and Community
Girl,
Promotion
pay
Board.
attention, you'll be voting.
So that's my motion.
I'll second.
Do I have a second? I have a
Kate seconds.
second from Kate.
I like
It,
to
any,
remind everybody, Chuck, that one day all these seats at this table will be vacant.
oh, yeah,
Just
yeah.
remember.
absolutely, 100%. All right, so I have a second from Kate. Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Lisa Manifold.
Yes.
Mayor,
Yes,
the issue of the alternate, I'm looking at the code and, the boards with alternates, it says in the code that the board composition is 7 members plus, it's 5 members plus 2 alternates. And the code specifically says that these alternate positions are created. I'm just wondering, because you said that you heard that you could appoint an alternate tonight, and I'm just wondering. where
Sadie
that
said
came
they were in the code already for the,
In the bylaws.
they're in the bylaws already for that committee.
Business and Promotion Board.
Which I
I would-
bylaws, and that's what.
I would recommend tightening that up in the code, only because the code controls over the bylaws.
Uh-huh.
And the code only says that the board shall consist of 7 members, and it doesn't speak to alternates.
So we would need to, I mean, to clean it up, amend the code to reflect that there are 2 alternates.
Yeah, because like our other, you know, like HPRC, Planning Commission, it says in the code that the board is comprised of 5 members plus 2 alternates.
Gotcha.
What does it say for business and community promotion board?
Business and community promotion says consists of 7 members,
So they both could be?
and the historic sites and facilities consists of 5 members. And I don't know if we have an alternate for them, but I would assume no, since it's not in the code. I would just be a little hesitant to have someone voting as an alternate before that is actually
I got it.
established. in the code.
Okay, so, Carol, you're not getting off the hook. We may amend our code to clean it up. Thank you.
That's something that can come literally next meeting.
Yeah, so you won't be waiting long, before, swearing in.
But then can I ask a question?
Yes.
Can we still vote on the motion as proposed? Since Sadie did say that her bylaws allow for it.
And nobody here has any idea
Yeah,
whether that's
Apparently, we
true or
don't have the
false. Yeah,
bylaws.
yeah.
Yeah, even if the bylaws say that, I would not, the bylaws are creating a position that the code doesn't.
All right, well then, just so we're on the clean side, let me ask, for an amended motion.
I'll second your amended motion.
Okay. Thank you. And, my amended motion, of course, will be for tonight. Although she knows that we're not letting her go.
You're not getting away.
Chris Slaymaker will be the new, board member on Business and Community Promotion Board. And for now, we'll leave it at that. But, we're looking forward to dealing with you, very soon, Carol. So, and then, Kate, thank you for your amended second. And, I assume we have no further discussion?
I do have one, we have another application. Is that someone that we want to consider for an alternate? Should we?
Well, I 100% agree, but let us tackle that,
After.
as we're
Okay.
cleaning up, the language, so we can get Carol on.
I always give
Officially as
first
well.
dibs to people that show up in the room, to be honest with you,
Yeah,
so,
yeah, well, and there's every reason to have two.
yeah, absolutely, I agree.
Uh,
Me too.
All right, well then, if there's no more, yes, Andy,
Would you like the city attorney to go ahead and draft a?
that would be wonderful and thank you.
For next meeting?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. And, all right, then, so we have a first, we have a second. There's no further discussion. Roll call, please.
Lisa Manifold.
Yes.
Kate Collier.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Jeremy Jones.
Yes.
Sharon Bassist.
Yes.
Chuck Harmon.
Yes,
Thank you.
all right.
Thank you, ladies. Thank you both.
Yes, thank you very, very much, and thank you for making it so difficult. So, we're just, yeah, seldom have, I mean, the talent levels, that's high. Thank you. I want to make sure we don't have anybody online for public comment. I didn't see anybody signed up.
I put in a request and I didn't get anyone raising their hands.
Okay, thank you, Dylan. We'll move on to, thank you, Andy.
Yep.
We'll move on to resolutions, starting with number 15. Do I have a motion?
I will make a motion to resolution number 15, series 2026, a resolution denying a final development plan on property known as 1300 Colorado Boulevard for a new multifamily affordable housing development. Resolution adoption only. Public hearing.
All right, thank you, Lisa. Do I have a second?
I'll second that. I thought Jeremy had
Second from Jeremy.
it. It's a gift.
And, any discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Lisa Manifold.
Yes.
Sharon Bassist.
Yes.
Kate Collier.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Jeremy Jones. Mayor Chuck Harmon.
Yes. Next up, number 19. Do I have a motion?
Make a motion to approve resolution number 19, series 2026, resolution adopting an amended compensation plan for the city employees and officers.
Thank you, Jeremy. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second from Kate. And any discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Sharon Bassist. Yes. Lisa Manifold.
Yes.
Kate Collier.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Jeremy Jones.
Yes.
Mayor Chuck Harmon.
Yes. Next up, resolution 21. Do I have a motion?
Make a motion to approve resolution number 21, series 2026, a resolution for the city council, city of Idaho Springs, Colorado approving an intergovernmental agreement between the city of Idaho Springs, town of Georgetown, town of Circlone, town of Empire, the city of Central Creek County and Gilpin County regarding shared proposition 1, 2, 3 grids.
Thank you, Jeremy. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second from Sharon. And any discussion? Hearing none?
Wait,
Oh,
I
I'm sorry.
have some
Oh,
discussion.
oh, go ahead.
I'm totally cool with sharing our credits, but and I shared this with staff earlier. I really feel like if we're going to continue to share credits, because Idaho Springs has really been on the forefront of expanding our housing, and we're one of the skinniest municipalities in this county. We don't have the space to keep continuing. I need to start seeing if we're gonna keep sharing. I will need to start seeing effort and accountability on our partners, because right now, we are the load-bearing wall in building property, to house more people in this county. And we're only one place in the county with the skinny one, outside of Silver Plume.
Yeah.
So I'm all for this, but I really, I feel like I have to make that statement because I'm a little concerned that all of the focus tends to be here in Idaho Springs where we don't have space to expand.
Chuck or Andy or Guy, has anything in the county been developed with a property that looks similar to the one that was proposed? Has any development in the last 10 years been developed for affordable housing in the county that you can recall?
Well, there's, I'll give you a couple. There's the Litech development, which is River Sound.
Where's that?
Or the
Riverbend.
Riverbend,
I'm
sorry,
not talking, I
sorry.
know, I'm not
Because we
talking
have a
about,
River Sound.
I'm not talking about Idaho Springs, countywide. Anywhere else in the county
No,
except for us.
not that I can recall. It's been in Idaho Springs.
There's Georgetown's work, I don't know how, I know they talked about it at the housing authority, right? Like, they're working on some stuff at the moment with the Lake Blue Flats, they're by the lake.
Right.
I think the question is if there's anything that's unincorporated county.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, well, there's
All of the
Habitat Homes
municipalities
and
are being
Empire.
tasked with being the
So
ones
there are
that shove it down
habitat
their
Yes,
throats.
and Empire.
And then that means that the police forces in those little towns are being the ones that are tasked with maintaining those things. I'm with Lisa. I believe in sharing our credits. This is not a discussion for whether or not that's gonna happen. This is just us as a council and truly leading the entire county in revenue and now in housing that we have created to really activate the county. I'm gonna use that word, that Sadie loves that word. Activate the county to get off their butts and start doing the exact same thing.
All right. Anything further? All right, hearing nothing further, roll call, please.
Kate Collier,
Yes.
Lisa Manifold,
Yes.
Chairman Sis.
Yes.
Mayor Potem Jeremy Jones, Mayor Chuck Harmon.
Yes. And then, next up, resolution number 22. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve resolution number 22, series 2026. A resolution approving the intergovernmental agreement with Clear Creek County for coordination of the 2026 special municipal election.
Thank you, Sharon. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second from Lisa. And any discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Kate Collier.
Yes.
Lisa Manifold.
Yes.
Chairman Sis. Yes. Mayor Potem Jeremy Jones.
Yes.
Mayor Chuck Harmon.
Yes. All right, we have two ordinance first readings. First one, number 16. Do I have a motion?
I will make a motion to approve ordinance number 16, series 2026, an ordinance amending section 21-105 of the Idaho Springs Municipal Code to authorize the issuance of conditional use permits as personal to the applicant and as limited or unlimited in duration.
Thank you, Lisa. Do I have a second? Second from Jeremy. And any discussion?
Just a question.
Yeah.
This sounds like it's creating more control for the city of Idaho Springs.
I would
That's all
agree.
I-
That's correct.
100%.
Just wanted to clarify.
So this has come out of our discussion about unlimited forever and ever
Right.
Yes.
CUPs.
That was an issue, I mean, I wasn't here for the
Carmen was here
last
for that
couple
one.
CUPs, but I was there for planning commission. And the issue there was they felt uncomfortable extending this sort of indefinite timer on the parking lots. And I had to be the bad guy and say, well, we don't have this control of putting a timer on it. And this puts a time, you can now put a timer on things. And you can also limit it to the applicant instead of it sticking to the property for
property.
other folks as well.
Yeah.
All right, very good. Any further discussion? Then roll call, please.
Sharon Bassis. Yes. Kate Collier.
Yes.
Lisa Manifold.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Jeremy Jones.
Yes.
Mayor Chuck Harmon.
Yes. And then, last of the ordinances, number 17, do I have a motion?
I'll move to approve ordinance number 17, series 2026, ordinance amending chapter 21 of the Idaho Springs Municipal Code to regulate group homes and related residential uses for persons with disabilities in conformance with Colorado law and the Federal Fair Housing Act.
Thank you, Kate. Do I have a second? Second from Jeremy. And any discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Lisa Manifold.
Yes.
Sharon Bassis.
Yes.
Kate Collier.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Jeremy Jones.
Yes.
Mayor Chuck Harmon.
Yes. Hey, next up, Nick,
I heard the end of the discussion as I was walking in about the alternates.
okay,
Please,
I
let me
think
know.
Kate has an excellent question that literally is on all of our minds.
Okay,
Please, if you would.
So across the board, it seems like each individual board or commission has separate rules for alternates.
Okay.
Is that true or not true?
I
Question.
couldn't say for sure without looking at each board's bylaws. I can only speak from the planning commission perspective, since those are the meetings that I regularly go to. I'd even rely on Lisa to talk about HPRC.
What do you guys do?
So in HPRC, we actually have two alternates, which is glorious. And my alternates attend, they do not vote, but I'm like Sadie in that I do a committee style open talk because you never know when somebody's not gonna be there and I need them to be a voting member of the board, which is the job of the alternate. So I want them to ask questions, be educated. I don't make them sit quietly. I want them engaged.
So what I think is that we should have uniformity across the board and especially on planning, well, actually on all of them.
Oh, I
but-
think we
but
should
my-
have all of them.
On all of them. But because of the amount of knowledge that you have to glean when you're on planning, sitting in the audience and listening to something that you really aren't participating in, at least for me, when I did it as an alternate, it wasn't helpful. Cindy Golston and Bill Mayer actively said, what do you think about this? Do you have any questions? And so I was engaged almost immediately. Even though I thought I wasn't supposed to be, they engaged us. But I don't know that that's part of the rules on planning commission. I just want to see all our commissions engage their alternates so that they actually feel like they're a part of the discussions that are going on.
That's smart from an
But they can
educational
also vote.
standpoint.
They need to be a voting
Member,
member, they are educated.
So, for planning commission, that is certainly more than allowed, and I guess I don't encourage anyone because I'm not the chair or, running the meeting. But any planning commission member that's an alternate can offer up thoughts, engage in the discussion. When it comes to any agenda item, except for a quasi judicial matter, on the quasi judicial applications, I ask that they don't participate. And the reason for that is if they are, of course, if they're serving in the alternate role of being in the game that night, that's more than fine. But if we've got a full five and then we've got our two alternates, I worry, and this is what we developed a few years ago, the procedure. I worry about the alternates asking questions in a quasi judicial hearing and influencing the outcome, even though they aren't voting members of the board that night and truly are not acting in that quasi judicial capacity. They're closer to almost being like public comment. So if an alternate truly really wanted to speak up during a quasi judicial matter, I would probably ask that in that case, they come for public comment and say, hey, I'm acting in my capacity as a citizen tonight, not as a member of the board. But at least at the planning commission level, study sessions, any legislative matters, the alternates are always welcome to discuss and have as much right to offer their opinion as any other member of the board.
And Dylan, I saw your hand up earlier.
I was gonna, if Nick didn't mention it, I was wondering if that was your distinction.
Yeah. Only on quasi judicial matters are that I urge the alternates not to participate just because I would worry about a developer saying in a lawsuit that an alternate that really was not a member of the board that night and wasn't voting on the application ran the conversation.
I could see myself doing that. I could definitely see that happening. So in that case, I actually do agree with you. The only thing I would ask is that, would you educate the planning commission on that and the reasons why that perhaps an alternate couldn't vote? That would be great.
Yep, I can
Like
bring it up
that
next
night,
meeting.
like that, just.
Yeah, that night, like
Yeah.
on repeat, because I think some people might not realize that's the reason why. So I would appreciate that.
If you guys wanted, one of us, Carmen or I, could even create like a little memo explaining this. And then like Lisa could take it to HPRC and share that with them or whatever, however you guys want to handle it.
I think.
I'll leave that up to you guys.
I think a little memo would actually be a good thing, and then, you know, if the commissions that you're with, because you're sometimes with HPRC.
Yeah.
I mean, normally we don't even really have an attorney because we're pretty well behaved and don't have a lot of issues going on. No, seriously, we just don't have a lot of issues.
That's the way it was when I was on.
Yeah,
Yeah, I've only gone to like 2 or 3 HPRC meetings, but yeah, I can do the memo and bring it up in person, obviously, for planning commission, and then you can handle it at HPRC on my behalf.
I will do so.
And if anyone's ever got questions, they can of course email one of us so we can answer.
All right, that sounds good.
All right, any further questions on that topic? Hearing none, Nick, I just want to see, do you have anything further for us in our regular session?
No, that's it for me.
Okay, all right, thank you. City Administrator, Andy, thank you for your report and just wanted to check in. Do you have anything further for us?
Nothing further. Thank you.
Okay. All right, and then, Guy, you do have a request for action regarding me signing a letter. And do I have a motion?
I'll move to approve the mayor to sign a letter written by the city attorney providing written consent, allowing for the assignment of the licensee under the June 14, 2021 charging station license agreement from EV Build Incorporated to Loop Global Incorporated with the following condition. Prior to the issuance of written consent to the assignment, Loop Global must provide evidence satisfactory to the city attorney of the entity's authority to conduct business in the state of Colorado.
All right, thank you, Kate. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second from Lisa. And any discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Sharon Basis.
Yes.
Kate Collier.
Yes.
Lisa Manifold.
Yes.
Mayor Potem Jeremy Jones.
Yes.
Mayor Chuck Harmon.
Yes. Hey, Guy, just wanted to check in, see if you had anything further for us tonight.
One other item, last Thursday, Kelsey Smith issued her resignation from the city, and her last day will be this coming Wednesday.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
So we're taking appropriate action.
Okay, this coming Wednesday.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm sure that's never future endeavor.
All right. All right, thank you very much, Guy. And then Dylan, thank you for your staff report. And would you do us a favor and discuss the noise ordinance for us, please?
Sure, why don't I come up?
Yeah.
So noise ordinance, really, I've been doing some research on the chief's behalf. There's been, working closely on this, and basically, our current standards are fairly objective or subjective. It's not based on any clear like decibel standard or anything like that. We don't even really have time limits on what's reasonable at different times, because naturally you'd want to allow more noise at noon than you would at midnight.
Yeah.
So I've just started doing research to try to create some more objective standards. And so the state actually has some objective standards that they passed last year, I think it was. And so we've been kind of looking at, does it just make sense to adopt those? Is there some other things we maybe need to adopt instead? So we're just looking for direction on. That seems like a reasonable way to proceed to give some more objectivity to noise things. And then also to maybe add some additional noise related ordinances or standards like construction, for example. Right now, we really don't set construction hours, and a lot of places do. Maybe they say it's like 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday through Friday, and then 8 to 4 on Saturdays or something. We don't have that other than for right-of-way permits, so it seems like something that causes a lot of hassle for people. And so if we're updating the noise ordinance, maybe we also institute standards like that.
And Dylan, I noticed you also had in there perhaps a noise permit, So I was thinking in my mind, so if we were having a city block party in downtown and we were to have a band, maybe that particular day, it's understood, they could go to 75 decibels, just making it up.
Right.
For the duration of the street festival that was gonna go till late o'clock or whatever.
I think that's a reasonable thing to consider, and it would be similar if, say, someone's holding a private wedding in their backyard or something, and they're like, hey, can we get you don't really need a special event permit, but you know,
You could use a noise permit.
right, or if there is a special event, like a running race, and they wanna have a band at the end, maybe that would be a good way of regulating that sort of thing, so that you get the special event and you also get the noise. Permit.
The reason this has come up is for multitude of reasons. I know that Kate, you brought up, I believe there was something was brought up about somebody running a weed whacker early in the morning. We've also had situations where people they're amplifying music at just really high decibel levels, even during the day. And then we have places like apartment buildings where you have some employees that may work at the mine and they work at night. So they sleep during the day, but their neighbor is blasting their music through the wall during the day, which in some cases might be okay, but for some folks who are sleeping, it's not. The other thing is for officers is when it's subjective this way, it really puts us in a bind where when we're gonna have to tell somebody, no, we're not gonna issue a citation, or we're asking the person, please turn the music down, and they say it's a free country, they can do what they want. It puts us in this really awkward position to actually deal with these issues. They don't happen all the time, but when they do, sometimes we have to tell the person who's complaining, they are in compliance with what our ordinance is.
Right.
And so that's why we need to really kind of have a more objective way of doing this. The cost of a decibel meter, a good standard decibel meter is $500 to $700. We would just have one at our police station for these weird, unique situations that pop up. So that's why we want to pursue this. I appreciate Dylan doing all the research on this. And so we're just wanting to pursue and maybe bring back to council during a work session some ideas to talk about and how to tighten up our code. So that's all. And it's not about necessarily, writing tickets to people or anything like that. It's just about getting compliance and also getting it so that, if an officer talks to someone that's complaining and we have our decibel meter and it's below that level,
You have recourse, it's
say we've
giving,
done what we can
yes,
to try
you
to
have
help you.
recourse when it comes to the
Sure.
person complaining too, so
Sure.
it makes sense.
So that's really the short and sweet of that issue.
I say, what does Bailey do, chief? They
I
have
don't
festivals
know.
over there. You don't
I
know.
don't know. They don't have a police department.
All right,
I guess
take
that
Bailey
is
out of the
interesting.
equation.
So that's,
You have a lot more experience with Cheyenne, but that's of course a different state, so there's
Sure.
probably different legality for what.
Well, I mean, I think it's all very similar. I always go to, look at the towns that are our same size, right? And see what they do, because there's chickens, there's goats, right? That's still a thing. There's the yippee yappy dog that I know Dylan knows who I'm talking about. And I'm sure you know who I'm talking, you all know who I'm talking about. So there's all kinds of noise ordinance, issues. And mine is the dog barking at night, like that literally will make me go insane. I have not called you yet, but so I think that just looking at like towns and maybe
But there is a
getting.
county ordinance for dogs, like if you look at it,
there is something within our code for dogs as well.
Oh, there is, okay, so there already is that, okay, that's
Let
good.
us know
I think
about
it's 10
that.
o'clock, right?
And then I did notice that it was 7 to 7, and the only thing I thought about that was like,
Well, it's for construction.
it actually, isn't it 7 to 7 across the board?
Well, 7 to 7 is where.
7 to 5.
The state, their revival or statute specifies the difference of daytime hours and nighttime hours as 7 to 7.
And our code actually mentions 10 PM.
Yeah, I know with incessant barking, I remember that 10 o'clock thing.
Yeah.
But so I think, if you look at the state, it's really not like residential is 55 decibels in the daytime hours and 50 at night. And that is substantially different, but because noise is exponential, yeah, so.
So we can get into those details during a work session.
Okay,
But
yeah.
the idea is we're looking for guidance from council, is this a worthy cause?
Totally.
Yes.
Right.
So that's-
I'll bet you, this is gonna be unanimous.
Sure.
And, I would look for a nod about the meter is pretty inconsequential
Yeah.
on price, even if it were seven
Well,
hundred.
one
Just
meter,
another tool.
we have
I think
one
it's a
meter
good
to
tool.
say,
Yeah.
Kate, I'm sorry, but your complaint is irrelevant.
Yeah.
Right,
That's,
right. I
that-
mean,
that's important.
You know, I love
Need
that
to
kind of
help.
stuff.
so,
Mhm.
and I think it was wise also to bring up the possibility of, maybe a noise permit for rare
That's a great.
items like a wedding was pointed out, and possibly like when we will have maybe one of our street celebrations or something,
Sure.
just that particular
And there's
day.
examples with this, when you think about our city parks. We've seen we have musicians that sometimes come to the parks, and we've been lucky and fortunate that what they're doing is really low volume. So what can happen is you can have people show up with an amplifier,
Sure.
and they're not low volume, they're really cranking it out. And the other thing is you may have people with free speech issues that bring not only their speech that they want to say, which is fine, whether it's religious or political.
Sure.
But when they use an amplification, the city may want to consider those types of things. I even mentioned to Dylan that you have some like ice cream trucks. We don't necessarily have those come to town much.
Mhm.
But if you have an ice cream truck and it's playing that loud music, private in the neighborhood, there should be a process to actually make it legal or illegal. Or get a permit. So you go through a process to get that amplification. You don't just drag out all your speakers and then just blast everybody out of the park.
Yeah.
I also think though the construction, boundaries as far as noise, I think that's important.
Yeah, just as something, again, we have it for right of way related work, but not for private. You just kind of decided as part of the construction standards.
Yeah, and we may need something for emergency work.
Right.
I mean,
Oh, yeah.
I'm not for a jackhammer going at 2 o'clock in the morning. But if it was the difference of the town's water being shut off, then we may have to look the
Y'all
other
gonna
way.
have to deal.
Well, and that's one of those cases where if that's happening, we're probably not pulling a building permit for it.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So, Dylan, do you have the direction that you need? Okay.
Yep, definitely.
Did you have your? I was-
Oh, sorry, guy.
Ed's being Ed. Anyway, all
Oh.
right, hey, Nick,
Yes, sir.
is there for a noise ordinance like this, how does the city handle that? The city's the one that's actually putting on the concert. Do they self-excuse themselves in the ordinance? Is it per event? How does that work?
Yeah, so it all depends on what the ordinance ends up looking at, but there was actually a case out of Salida, maybe,
Or 2 years ago or so?
actually, I'm looking at it now, it looks like it was less than a year ago, September 8th, 2025. And there, Salida had a noise ordinance that basically matched what the state has on the books. And Salida was giving a free pass waiver for the noise ordinance to a for-profit bar that kept having continuous events over and over again.
Interesting, Salida.
And the state law says that without looking at the statute itself, essentially, unless you're a nonprofit or participating with a governmental entity, or the governmental entity is, contributing to the event in some capacity, you're not able to give one of these permits. And Salida said, oh, no, we can. This is our local code and we can do that. And this guy Hobbs sued, went all the way to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court said that actually Salida can't do that. And I do believe Salida is a statutory municipality, much like you guys. So there are going to be some limits around the waiver process and how much you can stray from what the state says.
Gotcha.
With that in mind, a city-run event would certainly qualify for the waiver, and you would probably make an application on your own form to whoever is providing these waivers.
So that would be something like for 4th of July, Sadie
would represent the city with
Yeah,
the bands.
something like that, I think,
Okay.
yeah.
And I suppose if it was a nonprofit putting on an event, they could potentially be eligible for this waiver as well,
Definitely.
so. I don't know if all running races are, or concert series or what, some of them are nonprofits, so maybe there's still something to that, but maybe the backyard wedding doesn't.
Yeah.
get
Or
that.
Charlie's
I guess
Place on
also
Halloween.
the Argo is gonna be, come into play too, like how like, are they gonna be able to have, let's just say, rapid grass up there, top of the mountain? Not that I think we would hear it, but just
Yeah, that would
somebody's
be-
gonna hear it.
It would be interesting at the top, you know, for those folks if they,
Mhm.
that would definitely play a role.
I have the case in front of me. I was actually reading through it while you guys were talking, because I was looking at this for another client recently. The waiver provision permits, the use of property by the state political subdivision or any other nonprofit entity, or any of those entities, lessees, licensees, or permittees for a qualifying event. And the issue in the Salida case was, Salida was arguing that simply by nature of giving this for-profit bar a waiver, that they were one of their permittees. And the Supreme Court said, no, you're just handing this out to the bar. You actually aren't doing anything here in relationship to the event.
But if we had it in our special event permit, then we're fine.
That would probably be a little closer, yeah.
And if we were putting on the, like if we said, hey, Tommy Knocker, will you do this concert in the street?
Definitely.
That's part of our Thursday evening series, then that seems pretty obvious.
Yeah. Yeah.
There'd be some gray area that we'll have to work through.
Yeah, we don't have to do it right now.
Yeah.
So let's move off.
Wrap it on.
No, I
We're
just have
okay.
one question and then I'll shut up. Have you gotten complaints about like our city streets things, like Tommy
No.
Knockers or, okay.
No, I've never heard.
Cause I don't find them
complaint
super
coming from
noisy, like.
A city event, the 4th of July, anything like that. It's all been sort of a private person
Civil.
versus sort of private person type complaints.
Yeah.
So
All right.
the answer is no, but it's funny how this is such a small thing, it just gets really complicated
It
very
is
quick and it
complicated.
becomes a much bigger thing.
Oh, yeah. All right, anything further?
While I'm standing here, I might as well talk about another couple code amendments that are, I think, in the works, and then just, if there's a thumbs down, I'll stop working on it, but one is about exterior lighting, which happened like 5 years ago. So that's fine. One is about architectural design around town.
that related to dark sky?
Yeah,
Right.
Referred to as dark sky.
okay. Architectural design, which I think is quite a need at the moment. I've been working, we talked about this maybe a month or two ago. Like, I'm working on a parking study of what everyone else around the state is doing for like residential and different commercial and institutional things, so that's coming. I think we should clarify landscaping standards. And there's this very odd thing we have in our code about non-conforming buildings and uses that I want to add one sentence to the code potentially, but that, all these will come as work sessions, so.
Awesome, great,
It doesn't sound like any of these are bad things, but
good,
if,
accommodations.
you're all fine with all of that, I might start with planning commission, and then, because I know the next few work session agendas are pretty lengthy for council. So I might just start with planning commission and then come in here.
Yeah, he's like, what, Lisa? Can you please mention the two workshops, public meetings that are around historic preservation and
That's fantastic.
affordable housing? Because if
Yeah, so-
you don't, I will.
Yeah, that's a great point. I talked to Erica today, so I was gonna talk to you after the meeting, but for next week, HPRC meeting, there's not gonna be a ton of outreach, I guess, but love weekend day. We're going to kind of do like a historic preservation 101 sort of thing, so if people wanna like come in and just learn what historic districts are and like potentially creating a new historic district, that's been a really big goal for quite a while, to say like, let's protect, like the 2022 survey plan says this whole western Colorado Boulevard, basically from the current district all the way down, would be a historic district. So I think that's a really important way of potentially protecting neighborhood character and also giving people tax credits and grant opportunities. So I think this will be a good kind of like, come in if you like and ask whatever questions you have. And then the
Timeframes?
housing authority, so that's only a week away, so we'll see, but we can do more of that. We don't have anything else for the agenda that night, so I figured.
Oh, so we don't have
When
anything?
is that one? I've
That'll
got
be
some.
next Tuesday, the
6 o'clock.
18th, here at City Hall, just the regularly scheduled HPRC meeting. And Erica has done some presentations on this in other communities, so she already has something prepared. And
Erica's really
she's our
good.
vice
If
chair.
you've not seen her, she is fantastic.
All right,
She put
hold
on
at
that.
6 PM, you guys said?
And Zoom will be an option. And-
All right, Zoom too. Gotcha.
And I made a little flyer before the end of the day today, and I'm gonna send it to the Facebook groups and post it
Oh,
on
nice,
like
thank you.
the library and the rec center and stuff. And then Erica also, in her professional role as housing authority director, is scheduling sort of a similar meeting, but as it relates to housing. So I don't know if that date's finalized. She said
The 31st.
31st is likely the date, yeah, which is Monday the 31st, and that would be kind of like maybe a panel with, here hopefully that would have like representative maybe from the state and some people who live in affordable housing in town, like maybe Habitat and Riverbend, and then, Erica, and I'll be in attendance there too, so.
I can tell you that it will be here in City Hall on August 31st, starting at 6:30. She reserved the room today.
Hold on.
There you go. Out of the.
All right, do it again, August 31st.
At 6:30 PM here in council chambers.
So we'll get that, it just seems like, in the last few meetings, we could have saved at least a few minutes of folks' time if folks had more just general background about different funding sources and what it, kind of looks like and what opportunities are out there from the state and the federal government and how we can kind of protect existing naturally occurring affordable housing and how everyone can work together better across the whole county.
Yeah.
Dylan, can I ask a question? I'm so sorry, Chuck. I don't really know who this goes to. I don't know much about it, but I was kind of asked. I overheard a conversation. Can somebody have an event at Scraps to Soil, which I think is city owned, correct? And serve liquor?
With application. Following all the rules with the.
So they can't give away liquor at any event on city property?
No.
So you can't go to the park and have liquor?
No, not as an event.
I did not know that.
No.
Good to know that.
Yeah, that's goes through the special event permit process.
All right, anything further for Dylan? Well, Dylan, thank you. Chief, also, thank you for your input. That's good information.
Great, so I don't know.
Okay.
We're on police report right now.
All right, Wonder,
Can we go back to police reports?
oh, that's later.
Oh, okay, what? So I apologize.
Oh, it's okay. Trust me, I skip those all the time, so. In fact, I think I did last meeting. Wonder, great report, very interesting history.
Yeah.
And I must say, I did not know this figure, but it didn't surprise me in your report. We're one of only 6 communities in Colorado where we still have an elected position for the city clerk,
Yes.
which is pretty scary because you can just merely be 18 years old and perhaps be the only person that you can put in for it.
That's it.
Is the same with county clerk?
No.
I'm just kidding.
So, thank you. Also, happy to report, you probably saw this on Wonder's, finances there, her, breakdown. But we were up a whopping 0.63%. But, that was on top of us being up 5.22% the month before. So hopefully the trend holds, at least as positive. And, Wonder, did you have anything further for us tonight?
No, Mayor, I don't think.
Oh, okay, thank you. And now, Chief, thank you for your report. And I guess it's advisable that we stay under 105 miles an hour at any time. Yeah, no, that was interesting reading as usual. And Chief wanted to check in with you and see if you had anything further for us.
I think I sent a save the date, September 23rd.
You did.
At 2 PM is when we'll have our sort of grand opening there, building. So Sadie's helping me and it should be quite the event.
All right, very good. And questions for Chief?
Not a question. I shared this with some staff, but I've had a lot of conversations with residents over the last 2 weeks. And one of the I told Chief, I heard this from 5 people in the business district downtown, which is a big number. They love Officer Romo. They love that he's down there, he is saying hello, he knows them. And they're like, this is the kind of community outreach that we like to see. And seeing that presence downtown, really, it's something that people feel very positively about. So I just want to give him kudos for that because that's nice to hear.
And I can just imagine how much easier it's gonna be now that they have e-bikes and that the station's gonna be basically right at the beginning of downtown. I'll probably have a lot of availability for that, so another good perk about the location.
Thank you.
All right, well, thank you very much. Boy, Chief, I can't keep you out of this next one. I have one thing, and I'm just, I'm just taking the temperature in the room. But our next council meeting on a Monday, as they always are, would probably have more online attendance, if not personal attendance, if we were to have it on a Tuesday. Merely because, well, I shouldn't say merely, importantly, because there's a Bronco game going on.
Oh, goodness gracious.
And I'm just asking,
What am I gonna do on Monday night now?
and it wasn't fair for me to brought the chief into this. But there are, let me just say, some people that feel it should be like a national holiday or something. But.
International holiday, come on, man.
No, in all seriousness,
What day is that, Chuck?
it's Tuesday,
Mayor?
thank you,
Just
yes.
to clarify, this is actually the meeting on Monday, September 14th that we're talking about, Monday, September 14th.
And wait a minute, this is,
We were just planning ahead a little bit.
Oh, so this
Because
is
it's already-
they're playing Kansas City.
Yeah, so this would be a proposal to move the meeting from Monday, September 14th to Tuesday, September 15th.
Okay.
Everything will stay the same, kind of like we handle with holidays. It would just move to the next day if that's council's
right.
desire.
I vote you guys can do whatever you want. I'm gonna be in Montana.
Okay. Jade is
Watching the game.
I don't think you're gonna have any,
wisely going to be in cooler conditions.
Hopefully.
But I'm just saying, does that cause heartburn for anybody? Because I know some folks, you know, they know the schedule and maybe they have to work Tuesday night or something. So
We've done it before for the Broncos.
would you be all right with that?
I just started a new job, I don't know what I'll be working.
Are you?
Hey,
He's not.
Exactly.
I wonder if this is better to you?
No,
Okay, all
that's
right.
totally fine, thank you.
Andy, would you be all right with that?
Yes, indeed.
Okay,
Thank
all
you.
right. Okay, Chief, I'm going out on a limb here, but would you be all right with that?
I'm all for that.
Okay, okay.
Everybody.
And Guy?
Huh?
And Guy, would you be all right if it were on a Tuesday, September 14th?
Just fine with that.
Okay, Ed, what do you think?
Go Missouri.
All right, all right. And Dylan, you have the final word. Could you live with it on Tuesday?
Yeah, that would be fine. We would have to reschedule HPRC if we
Well.
have an HPRC meeting.
Oh.
I think that the chief,
We could push HPRC out a week. I don't think anybody's gonna.
right,
Okay,
that's
All right.
my thought.
all right. Andy, thank you for the correction on that.
Mayor, I will say though, that both Carmen and I have meetings that night on the third Tuesday of the month.
That's the
So-
15th, is that the third?
Yeah, it is, because the first is the first Tuesday. So we will have to coordinate.
Yeah, I got you.
Hey, one sec, it is.
No, what, first and third?
Tuesday.
Yeah.
And this is the 14th.
Yeah.
It'll be moving to 15th.
Yeah, Tuesday, third Tuesday.
Third Tuesday, I see. It's funny how the calendar.
You may have to go without one of us. If not, I could see if like So there will have to be some scheduling there.
Okay, all right.
If that's what's happening, I'll let her know.
We'll take a look at that. Thank you very much. All right, anything further, anything further for the, or I'm sorry, Ed, I meant to get to Public Works. Thank you for your report, number one. And, want to see if you have anything further to share with us tonight?
Other than the sewer clog was, we were out in the middle of the night for that,
Oh, brother.
till 12:30.
Man.
Two projects are getting wrapped up. We're see the light at the end of the
A
tunnel,
Montane tank.
Montane tank, and then the repairs for reactor 1,
Oh, or, yeah,
2, 1
okay.
are almost finished. So close.
You wrapped up the sewer at 12:30 AM.
Yeah.
What time did everybody get out there?
I got called at 5:30 and it had barely even had started. And then I went back home and then we grabbed the jet, went out there and then noticed a puddle of sewage in the middle of the playground. We're all like, well, that's not the line we thought it would be. I wasn't able to, or we were able to get it unplugged, but we weren't sure if if the little jet was gonna work.
Yeah.
And then the big jetting machine didn't run. We couldn't get it to start. But we did get it with the little machine.
Yep.
Super lucky, but and then the next day we got the machine running, jetted it good.
All right.
Roots and grease.
Nice.
Well, thank you,
Somebody
thank
needs
you,
to camera
thank
my
you.
line. I have one more thing, and
Sure.
I apologize, this is actually kind of important. So I was thinking the other day, we have allocated certain places on city property for, what do we call this?
Storage district?
The mall, so that they can be on, property. And on this side of town, on the east side of town, we're gonna allow certain restaurants, liquor store, whatever, to use city property as a use only during
Like
certain
encroachments.
encroachments. So I was wondering, why would we not allow the library the same courtesy of having the 4 spots in front of the library only parking? And then on both sides of the street, residential only parking, so that library patrons who live here in the county can park for free. And this is designated always, and that like it goes from Minor to Colorado Boulevard, so that we don't have this selective parking where there is no library parking for a patron. There's absolutely 0. So this would allow at least 10 parking spots for residents and 4 specifically for library residents. You know, anybody that's using the library could park in those 4, including the handicap. So I just wanted to bring that up, Dylan, because I think
All right,
everybody's enthusiastic about
And yeah,
this.
I'm thinking maybe for a future work session, we can just discuss this.
Sure.
Thanks.
All right.
Well, I
Thanks,
do,
guys.
I agree with you that that's important. I was at the library board, Friends of the Library Board today, and part of the library report was that there are patrons in Idaho Springs who are now going to Georgetown because they cannot park here. And so that is a detriment to our library. Like that's
Bad for the library.
bad for, it's bad for the town too.
Yeah.
Like it's not good. So yeah, I feel like we have to address that parking somehow.
All right. All right, very good. Thank you. Anything further? All right, I'm
I
gonna,
have one last thing.
yes.
Then I'll stop. So I heard a very nice compliment from Chuck and I wanted to say thank you. Somebody told me when we were talking about something for this upcoming meeting, and they were saying, well, I hope it's not gonna be too much. And they had been talking to Chuck and said, I don't wanna overload council. And Chuck's comment was, I can't say this about every council, but this council, you can guarantee that they will have read their packet.
Oh, 100%.
And I appreciate it. He was like, because he said to this person, you know what, don't worry about it. They're gonna read their packet and they will come, with knowledge.
Yep, no doubt about it.
So thank you.
All right, all right, good feedback. Thank you. Then I am going to say my spiel to go into executive session and get a
Motion first.
motion for that. And by the way, we will be coming out of executive session merely to adjourn our regular session. I would make a motion that we go into executive session under CRS 24-6-402(4) to discuss personnel matters, specifically the city administrator's performance review. And do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second from Kate. And any discussion?
No.
Hearing none, all those in favor, please raise your right hand and signify by saying aye.
I.
Aye. All right, any opposed? All right, it's 8:30.